Hey, folks. Sorry we're a little late. We're having, we had some thunderstorms and limbs cracking, and so the internet's a little blinky winky, but I think I got it now. And stand by in just a few seconds, and the link will be in the At the Bench thread, and it should be popping up right about now. So I'm sitting here looking at my frozen face. Let's see what we can get going here. We might take a minute to get going. Looks like we got a good connection to YouTube, so you there. Video too good. See what I can do for them. I just see a picture of me. Hey, Bob Bishop, tell me if you can see me talking or moving, or if I'm just a locked up picture. And I'm going to turn my camera off. Oh, hey, it looks like y'all are working. I'm going to reset my camera just a second. Can you hear me, Bob?
Yep.
Okay, good. Stand by while I reset my camera. Sorry, we are the subject of falling limbs and things like that today. So everything that relies on the infrastructure is a little on-y-offy. And so I think I got it going now. And my camera should pop back on in just a second. And hey, I'm moving. Okay, excellent.
I gotcha.
Well, let me say my usual intro, since I hadn't actually done that yet. So this is Rusty. I'll be your host until about midnight or so, depending on how long we can hang out. And the links are in the usual place on the Stunthangar control line forums. If you want to come in with a microphone and a camera, you can go to the At the Bench thread on the main stunthangar.com page. Scroll down until you find the section called At the Bench, and it'll be the top post in there. It posted just a moment ago with today's date in the title. And so to keep it short, we just try to be family room friendly here. We talk about aeromodeling and try to keep the place where no news is good news. And sometimes real news pops up, and sometimes we speculate about it, but pretty much we stick to anything you like to do with tools in your workshop and that sort of thing. And I see more and more popping in. Gary Sinclair, Denny Adamison is here. So it's Monday. Let's go. It's Monday the 13th, actually. That ought to be the unlucky day. Why do they have to make Friday the 13th an unlucky day? Monday the 13th. That has a more ominous ring to it. Hey, Michael Unke. So, how was everybody's weekend? Did y'all do anything useful, productive, or fun?
Eat a lot of ham.
Oh, yeah. A lot of ham was eaten here, too. And jelly beans. But jelly beans are my favorite part of Easter.
Apple stuff was great.
So Bob Bishop's out there. Okay. Bob Bishop says he's got a good read on us. So that's the only YouTuber out there that's checked in right now. So what y'all want to talk about tonight? You on the Chromebook again, Mike?
I am. Yeah, my daughter was not happy again. She didn't want to give it up.
Well, but I got a good picture on you, but your lips aren't moving at the same time as your voice is coming through. I hope that doesn't continue.
Oh, really?
We'll see. All we can do is try.
All right, yeah, because I got excellent video on all of you and really good audio, and nothing's choppy. So
good. My internet completely went down right when I was getting ready to click the go button, and I came back okay. So we'll cross our fingers and keep going. I don't have any interesting news. It was an average weekend. I did get out in the shop a little bit, and got all my air tools and tanks and compressor and everything set up like I wanted, which involved a trip to Lowe's, which I didn't like at all. But I did notice that most of the customers were masked up, and I was glad to see that. Except I got the last squirt of alcohol gel to clean my buggy handle with, and after I cleaned mine, there was no more for everybody behind me. So says the employee that was guarding the alcohol.
Hey, Rusty, I just switched to low def. Does that change my voice? Is it keeping up now, or?
It's pretty good. Your lips have not quite stopped moving yet, but
Right.
it looks like they're moving slower than.
Live streaming is on.
Hey, Bob, we managed to get you on twice.
I got Bob twice. Yeah.
Hold on a second. Cool. Am I on now? I better.
Oh,
You know
I
he's,
think one of
you
those
know
is
he's
his,
thinking about a new twin-engine stunner.
yeah, I think one of those. I think one of those images. That's his evil twin, Skippy. So
can't.
Am I
Uh,
am I on am I on this now?
No, you're still doubled up.
yeah,
Okay, hold on. I'll get off.
now
Oh,
they
we
both
lost
went
him.
away. Oh wow!
turn my
Hi, Denny.
dog
Hi, Mike.
on.
I
Hey,
can't
John,
ever
how you
remember
doing?
his name.
Hey, John.
Yeah, well,
Now both Bobs have a little Casper the Ghost in their corner, and they both disappeared. So hopefully he'll come back, meld it back into the same
hey, now
body,
he's back.
kind of like
There he
on
is.
Star Trek. That's like a Star Trek thing, where somebody gets split into two people. That looks good, Bob.
Better? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where I am here though. How do I get on? I
you appear to be on 100% okay.
Or not?
He was. You shouldn't have said anything, Rusty.
Yeah.
It's all
No.
your fault.
Ain't it always?
That's it.
Well,
That's
we're
it. Let's
getting off
blame
to
it
a
on
rocky
Rusty.
start. That only means it can only get better from here. Did you guys have a good weekend? I think I've asked that about twice or
I had
three
a
times.
wonderful week.
Good. You
Yesterday being
got some-
Easter
yeah.
and me stuck in the house, I still had a good day.
We had to do the
Got
egg.
it.
If you got
We had
any
to do the
friends
egg
and
hunt.
family that are keeping in touch with you,
All right.
I got somebody hacked somebody's Facebook account, and they wanted, and the name is Bob Parker, and wanted to be friends. So I clicked on it, and wasn't even 10 seconds, and they were there saying, how you doing? And then they went on, and it's all this garbage about some big amount of money they'd gotten, and did I want to get in on it and all that stuff. And they wrote
it was
the way
spam,
they
in other
wrote.
words.
Yeah, the way they wrote, English was not their first language. I could tell that they just didn't use the language correctly. And so I
Yeah.
asked him, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Arizona." And I said, "No, you're not." I said, "Bob Parker speaks English, and English is his first language, and it's obvious that's not your first language." And he went away. So be careful out there on Facebook.
Yeah, everybody's.
I couldn't unfriend him. I tried to unfriend him. I couldn't do it.
Just block them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I get people in the control line community, at least their names saying they've accepted my friend request and to click on this to say hi to your friend. And I know good and well that 99% of those guys hadn't exchanged friend requests with me. And
Well,
I don't know.
when you accept a friend request, it automatically goes to Messenger to ask you to connect with them on Messenger and say hi. So when you do accept a friend, it does go to Messenger because they want you to connect on Messenger and use that part of Facebook as well.
Yeah.
So any friend request you accept you're gonna get a notification on Messenger. Say hi to your new friend. That's standard operating procedure.
Okay. So if it doesn't do that, it might be spam. But
Correct.
yeah, I mean, it was.
Hello, Rusty.
I think you're locked up there, Rusty.
What'd you say, Bob?
I think you locked up there for a minute.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
you went gray for a minute there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hanging by a thread. I got a red signal bar. But anyway, yeah, I mean, people like Paul Walker and some of the names I know from Stunthangar, have just sent me friend requests, and I don't know if they're all legitimate or not. I guess maybe a lot of people see me on the show and check out my Facebook page. So
Well,
maybe.
Rusty, I can tell you this. I sent Paul a friend request last year after the Nats. It was probably the second or third time I met him. And he just accepted it a couple of weeks ago. And it was Paul Walker. So I don't think maybe he's not a prolific Facebook guy, but when he gets on there, he does respond to stuff. So I thought it was weird too, because I got a notification about 3 weeks ago that said Paul Walker accepted your friend request. And I thought, boy, this has got to be fake. And then I looked back and saw that I had sent him one almost a year ago. So he finally just responded to it. So that could be part of it is you got people
It might be.
maybe just don't look that often. And when they get on there, they got a whole bunch that they see and they go ahead and accept them. But mine was real for Paul Walker anyway. It was him and it was real.
Okay.
So
I'll take a closer look. And I'm one of those that doesn't check Facebook very often. It might be 6 weeks in between checks. I mean, when my birthday comes along, I usually get to it within a few days just to say thank you for the happy birthdays. But that's about it. So,
yeah, I know.
or if I win the contest.
I posted on your page I was going to send you a check for $1,000 and you never responded. So I gave it to somebody else. I made a donation in your name to the Human Foundation.
Have you tried my birthday present yet, Rusty?
I have not, but it is within eye shot of my workbench and probably pretty close to being in the test phase. So I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Part of that was the reason I was getting my air compressor and everything set up right yesterday. I had almost enough fittings to do everything, but not enough without cannibalizing something else. So that's why I had to go to Lowe's. I got it all fixed up now.
Rusty, did you have to get another workbench or something there so you had room to put all these projects up?
No, this is the same projects that have been sitting on there for 2.5 years. The Hyper Viper on the table and on the workmate.
Yeah, since
I'm going to use the doctor paper on that Hyper Viper wing and then decide if I want to use it on the Cardinal or not, depending on how that goes. Or if I want to do another practice plane, because I got a couple of practice planes that'll make good bills. I got a Flight Streak and a P-51 that I bought from Mike about 2 years ago.
You still got that
Sterling
thing?
kit. Yeah, man.
Oh man,
I hadn't built it yet.
You might want to go with a little lighter paper on that Hyper Viper. That's only an 049. I didn't want to get some Jap tissue or some.
It'll be all right. I'll overpower it. I'll put a 05 074 on it if it doesn't fly with the
Okay.
049. Nah, it'll fly with a big MiG if it won't fly with the TD.
Oh,
I
so
got some meat today in the mail.
what'd you
See
get
what that
now?
is?
What's
See what that is?
Oh man, I haven't
That's
seen.
one of those super fancy face masks.
All right.
Yeah. Got them for cost of postage, they said. Cheap enough. But they're talking about wanting more of us to be wearing face masks around here. So
I
Yeah.
thought,
there's
Yeah,
none to be bought anywhere.
Well,
I'm just wearing paper ones.
Say what? There's three of you talking.
I thought you were wearing one already.
It's his beard, Bob.
Yeah, actually, I'm talking to you out the back of my head right now.
I've been
Yeah.
wearing the paper masks, but I have been soaking them in ethanol. I went and bought some Everclear at the liquor store and letting them hang to dry. It only takes about 15 minutes for it to go from dripping to completely dry. So that pretty much is as good as I can do.
You're wasting Everclear on sanitizing paper masks. Shame on you.
Well, don't say I
No,
didn't
you
try. I
don't.
tried to find ethanol at the paint section at Lowe's and Walmart before all this happened and couldn't get it.
you
Well,
also
if you
put them in the oven. You can set them in the oven at 150 degrees for an hour or so, and that'll kill all germs.
Baked face mask. I love it.
That's
why
it.
do you want to get rid of that Everclear? Put it on and suck it up.
Yeah. That's the other way too. You can disinfect
Yeah.
from the inside out. So
There you go.
John, I was going to
Rusty's
ask
locked
you
up
if you got your motor mount, but did you get a face mask instead? I know he's been printing those.
Yeah, I got no motor mount yet. I'm sure he's probably got it done by now, but
yeah.
who knows? I'm looking forward to it though.
All right.
That's the last thing I need before I can finish up the plans, and then I can send the parts out to a laser cut,
Yeah.
and then I can start building it.
Well, who do you normally use for your cutting?
Oh, I got several people. Walter does it for me. National Balsa. Sometimes I just send it to them and have them do it.
Really?
They do a pretty
Okay.
good job, and they supply the balsa and everything while they're at it. And I've got a guy up here in Ogden, Brent Williams' father-in-law has a laser cutter, so he'll cut small batches, And I've talked to Brent, see if he asks if he'd do some for me. So and there's others
Mikey
that I've
Pratt.
had over the years. Yeah.
Hey guys.
Tom.
Hi Tom. Hi Tryon.
Yeah, since they canceled Brodak this year, I wore one of my T-shirts Samantha got me for Brodak.
Sarcasm is stuck with this one. Love it.
Very good.
Love it.
No one's gonna. I got 4 or 5 of them. No one's gonna get to see them this year.
That's
So.
funny.
Yeah, I guess your first contest is going to be in August. It looks like.
Is the net still on?
So far, I think the Nats is going to happen. There's a cheerful Pollyanna look, and I think it's going to happen in July. I'm not sure if anything. I hope to go to a contest in Chicago at the end of May and Milwaukee the weekend after that, first weekend in June, but that's probably going to be too early.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that there's some big to do in late October out east, but
Early October.
Right before the snow flies, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just before the snow flies.
Well, it's a bit
going
early.
down. It's going down to 26 degrees tonight, so maybe we've already passed the summer. I don't know. So
It's going to be the second, third, and fourth of October.
yeah.
38 years
Second
ago
of
tonight.
October, Bob.
Huh?
The 2nd of October, you said?
Second, third, and fourth. The second is a Friday. That's a practice day. Field will be open for practice. And then Saturday is the Garden State Circle Burners 50th anniversary old time stunt contest and classic. And then on Sunday is all four Pampa class. And
Are you going to use? Okay, you're going to be using Garden State rules, then, aren't you?
yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, they're running it, so I'm just the seat. I'm letting them run it there.
Yeah, the only reason I asked is there's a handful of airplanes that Pampa allows that Garden State wouldn't. That's all. So
I'll have a word with them, and anything that shows up can fly.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Plenty of time to plan.
Can I interrupt for 1 second here?
Sure.
I just got a text from Rusty. He said his internet crashed, so he may or may not be in or out the rest of the show.
Okay.
Okay. But he's working
But
on.
he's there. He's just frozen.
Yeah. Well, no, he's down actually. So he just said to let everybody know his internet crashed, so he may or may not be in or out.
Yeah, the one is frozen, and the other one ain't letting him in yet. So he's got a good signal, but
You must be enjoying that coffee, though.
yeah.
Hey Dennis, if you
That's that Everclear.
Dennis, if you get hard up to go to a contest, you can drag some old combat planes off the wall and come to Detroit on the 17th of May because they're having a contest, virus or no, man.
Yeah, I know. That's Paul Smith. So yeah, he'll do it no matter what the hell's happening. And,
Come down to the Rouge, buddy. Come back to the Rouge.
I haven't been at the Rouge in early 1980s. I bet it has been. It's been close to 40 years since I've been at Rouge Park, and you're right. I need to be at there.
Yeah.
But as far as my stash of old combat planes ranks right there.
I'll give you planes.
Yeah.
I'll give you airplanes. I'll bring more airplanes than you can crash if you want to come and fly it. I'll set you up with everything you need.
Don't set yourself up for failure there. More than I can crash. I mean, that's like, when I go to the all-you-can-eat restaurants, they always lose on me too. So
yeah,
I try to make them lose anyway.
Yeah. Make sure you watch the news about Detroit. And local news tonight, they showed a freezer with bodies just stacked on top of each other because they're running out of places to put them.
Well, I know all that, and it's still 4 or 5 weeks away. Better than that.
Yeah.
Away. And we are going to
be clearing by then.
I'm going to check the news and see what's going on, and then I'll double check with Mom to make sure that she's not sick because we'll stay with my mother if we go. She lives in Westland, like 15 minutes from where the
Who's taking care of her, Mike? Getting her food and stuff? Is she going out and getting her own, or someone bringing?
No, my 2 sisters. I've got 2 sisters there, and Mom's doing that. She's 80 and lives by herself, but she's doing the click list thing. She does an online thing and then just drives and picks it up and goes home.
Oh, okay.
So,
I just got done bringing food to my mom's house before.
My mother said, and you can take this however you want, but in the beginning of all this, I was trying to get her to stay home all the time. And she's like, Mike, I'm 80 years old. If this damn thing kills me, it kills me. I've lived for 80 years. I'm not going to live that much longer anyway. And I was just like, Mom, you got to stay home. It's not just you, it's other people, but she's of that generation.
Hi,
she's of that generation where she just don't give a shit,
I'm gonna try to kick your other one out, Rusty.
Try. See if you can. I can't figure out how to do it. Bob did when he was there on doubling up.
If you make it to Chicago, aka the Aurora contest, or to Milwaukee, Mark McKinney most likely is going to be there.
Who's going to be there?
Mark McKinney.
Okay.
Yep. So you have.
I don't know for sure that those contests are even going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I'm worried about. I got Milwaukee's actually easier for me because my son lives about 30 miles from the contest site. I'll just go crash with him again. I did a couple of years ago.
Yep. He was talking about you when you flew at the last.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. He was talking
that's the
about
Circle
you.
Masters in Milwaukee.
I think it still is, yeah.
Okay, that's my old club.
Yeah. I guess he hasn't. I was there 2 years ago, and he didn't come out that day. But apparently, Bob Gialdini was a member there, and he used to come out. You know, they didn't see him. He doesn't fly actively anymore or anything like that. But he used to come on out, and I was hoping like heck that he'd be out that day, but he didn't make it. So, you know, I heard later on that he wasn't doing real well. You know, health wise. He's apparently slowing down, but I haven't heard that we've lost him. But
No, he's all right. I talked to him not that long back.
okay. And how's he doing? Is he still hanging in there, or?
He's complaining, but he sounds fine. You know, I got to tell you, a great Bob Gialdini story. I don't know if I told this here yet or not, but do any of you know Paul Rispala? Do you know that name?
Which one?
Paul
Who's that?
His father, George, published a lot of airplanes back in the 70s or 80s. Anyway, Paul had stopped flying stunt when he was very young because he had a panic attack, and they had to take him to the hospital. He couldn't breathe, and he got back into stunt flying not that long back, and he built an Olympic, and he built it electric, and he called me up and said, "Can I come over to your house and put the electric system in?" I said, "Yeah, sure, come on up." So he shows up with this really nicely built Olympic, except the nose of it was like a baseball bat with a spinner stuck on the end. And I said, "Paul, let's get some of the lumber off the nose of this thing and ferret in, you know?" And he said, "Oh, there's not enough wood." I said, "Well, there's plenty of wood, you know?" I said, let's start taking some, this lumber off." So we're shaping the nose, and the conversation turns to Bob Gialdini. He says, "I've always liked this airplane, and I always wanted to meet Mr. Gialdini before he died." And I didn't say anything. I just went over and picked up the phone, and I called Bob. And I said to Paul, I said, "Here, I want you to meet somebody." And I put it on speakerphone, and I said, "Bob Gialdini."
Yeah, that's great.
You should see the look on his face.
Yeah, I'll bet. Hey, Tom is all set to show off.
Bob
Looks like a red-headed engine in that smoothie.
Yeah, I made those changes that you guys recommended on Friday. So I put the McCoy redhead in here. I fixed the rudder so that it's basically straight, just very, very slight angle.
Yeah.
And I put in I have a 4-ounce clunk tank in here now. That's the only thing I had at home. So
that worked great.
It's got all those changes, and let me weigh it here. I haven't weighed it since I I weighed it just a little while ago, but I forget what the number was. It's pretty light, I think. It's 38.7 ounces.
Yeah. Better seal those hinge gaps, though.
That'll be great.
Seal what?
Seal the hinge gap.
That'll be great.
Oh, yeah, okay. Seal the hinge gaps, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, Rusty, now we got 3 of you.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Three's better than one, right?
2 of them are gray. Yeah, 2 of them are grayed out.
I do see them. Okay.
You're beside yourself.
Multiplying.
So now we got snow both Saturday and today.
Ah,
So I don't know when I'll get to try and fly this thing.
Minnesota in the spring.
And it's 20 gonna be 20 degrees tonight, so
Wow.
yeah.
still a little cold here.
We're up over.
Well, I guess by that same measure, I was showing off those airplanes last week that I'm finishing up. So I guess I'm the one responsible for destroying the weather in the state of Indiana. So
Yeah,
2
you
new
are.
airplanes,
For sure.
my God,
Well, I was saying earlier that 38 years ago today, I was coming back from Italy, headed back to Switzerland. And on the way back, I stopped and called my mom. And I won't go why, but she told me, she goes, guess, she asked me, she goes, guess what your brother's doing? And I said, what's that? She goes, riding your snowmobile.
Hmm.
On the 13th of April.
Yeah.
So this does happen every once in a while.
Yeah, they're saying it's 20 degrees below normal for this time of year in Minnesota.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
gotta
we were
be-
doing real good there for a few days, and then it just the bottom dropped out of the temperatures, and the wind won't hasn't dropped below 10 miles an hour in like better part of a week.
Yeah,
howling
we've had
here.
the north. We've had the north wind here where I live in Utah for almost 4 days now, and the high temperature today was just barely made it into the 40s. It was down in the low 30s last night. So I think everybody's getting hit with that north wind.
We were up in the 70s today, but it was windy.
You got the north wind there,
Yeah.
John. And in Pennsylvania, they got the second wind.
The second wind.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And in Grand Rapids, they
We
got
gotta
a
get you
lot
a
of
new book
wind.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna. Since I have all this money from not having to save it for contests and stuff, I bought a set of them virtual reality goggle things. They work so good. I went to a virtual bar. You can't believe the good-looking women and younger women that'll talk to me there.
You and Sheldon.
Like I said, we got to get you a new book.
Did you guys see that video on Facebook in which the guy put the camera on the wing of his plane and he did pointing towards the pilot and he was flying over there? And what kind of surprised me is that if you watch the movements on the flaps, it doesn't move more than like 15 degrees at most,
If that, yeah.
if that, in the whole flight. So
Sounds about right.
Yeah, we have a lot more control on our planes than we need.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think anything over 25 degrees is useful.
Yeah.
It's like if you can turn a 90-degree square as sharp as you don't need no more than that. And I think a lot of times when people get in trouble and they try to save their airplane and they just punch in full elevator and flaps, it stalls the plane. It makes it worse than it does helping it out when you get in trouble.
Yeah. One thing that I've noticed is that some people don't put the CG in the right place on their planes. I tried to fly somebody's plane and the CG was so far forward I nearly crashed the thing.
You flew one of Bob's airplanes?
My airplane.
So
One of Wendy's airplanes. He trims with anvils. Anvils.
Well, that's
why it's
you telling the story about you can't even fly
so
Robbie's airplanes because the CG is so far back.
Robbie's airplanes, he puts the CG over about mid-tail wheel. You know. Good grief. And Gieske too. I couldn't fly Gieske's airplanes.
Really? I'm surprised to learn he flew that way.
And he flew with a big handle, and he had the CG really far aft.
Mm-hmm.
And really hard to fly for me. I mean, you know, I nose heavy, but it's someplace north of the tail wheel, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I think my CG right now is just a little bit too far back. I could probably use another 1/4 of an inch forward or something like that, which is quite a bit.
You were talking about control movement, how much control deflection. It's not just control deflection. It's the speed of the control system. It's how fast you can get that amount of elevator in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have a faster system, you can get that 15 degrees or whatever it is it'll accept in a lot quicker, and you can turn a lot tighter corner. You know. So
what I think it matters over there is the mechanical advantage that you have on your bell crank, and that's one of the biggest constituents, right? And the second, which is very huge, is the line tension. Because if you don't have line tension, it doesn't matter how much you move your handle, the slack in the lines are not gonna contribute to an actual deflection in a bell crank.
Yeah, it all works into the thing they call the Netzi band wall.
What?
The Netzi band wall. Netzi band did a whole series of articles, and it predicated on if a lot of line tension you had, you can't get in more control than that it'll accept from line tension. Pretty much what you're talking about,
Exactly that, yes. And so when I went and I flew this guy's plane, it was in Chicago, by the way, and he had a very beautiful plane, stuff like that. It was just a nice plane, and I was a little bit on the heavy side, 70-ish or so, maybe even heavier than that, and we started to move the CG back on that plane, and the plane started getting better and better and better, to the point that we had to drop in the spacing on the handle at the time. And it was, even though it was a little bit heavier, right now at that point it was out cornering a plane that was much lighter than it. But I think, my opinion is like, trim the plane so you can push the CG back until it starts to hunt, and then push it back forward some, right? To the point like it tracks easily, right? Now, if it's too responsive, then you work with your handle spacing to get get the plane fly to your flying style.
Well, there's a difference between sensitivity and responsiveness. All right. An example would be a Porsche Cabriolet rear-engine car. Is very responsive, and if you put 700 pounds of luggage in the nose, it's not going to be as responsive. An airplane can be both non-sensitive and very responsive. If you slow the control system down, so that full range of your hand only gives you a small amount of control, then you can move the center of gravity aft without getting a sensitive airplane. It'll still be very responsive, but non-sensitive.
Yeah.
On the other
That's
side,
my setup.
If you have a very fast system and you move the CG aft, it's going to be maybe uncontrollable.
Yeah. My CG is close to.
I remember. I remember when we were teenagers. You go ahead. I'll wait.
My CG is about 3.5 inches behind the leading edge.
That doesn't mean anything. Each airplane has a different CG.
Yeah. I'm at more than 30% back. Anyways, 33% back.
Maybe where the CG is on other airplanes, it may be 2.5 inches back. You just don't know.
Yeah.
2 inches.
But, yeah. The way I have it set up right now is my ball bearings that ride on the other side are almost at maximum. And when the bell crank is at neutral, I think I have very little clearance over there left. So I have a lot of mechanical advantage right there, because the bell crank, I think it's maybe 3/4 of an inch, if that, at that point. And the push rods on the arms are on the opposite sides of the arms, to the point that I have very solid, very good mechanical advantage, but it's very mild at center right now. That's how I have it set up. So, anyways, yeah, it's pretty FCG, but it's almost a little bit difficult to fly it level, and I don't want that. I want to have just a little bit more forward CG to have it track just a little bit better. If I have that, I'm just going to be super happy with it. But I'm limited by the battery right now, because the battery on the old nose, it's as far forward as I can possibly push it.
How long is the nose measurement from the leading edge to the back plate of the spinner?
I think it's 10 inches.
Yeah, it's very short for electric. Electric airplanes now, some of them are out at 12 inches. Igor's max speed is 12 inches.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
airplanes want a further forward balance point.
Yeah, maybe
Paul Walker's airplanes like that too. My new airplane's like that. Paul's was called the Anteater because it's so long and thin. You know, the nose is way out there, and it turns great. You know.
Yeah,
Okay.
the one thing is like when we hook up linkage and stuff for different things, we can make it faster, the travel faster, but we have stops to where it's not going to move it too far. And with a control system, you can make it real fast, but it usually puts in a lot of throw on stuff. And it'd be kind of neat if they could put some kind of stop in there to where you can't go over 15 degrees.
I don't. Why would you need stops in there? I don't understand that.
You know, let me slip this in, Steve.
Good.
When we were kids, 17, 18 years old, flying Nobird or whatever back in the late 50s, early 60s, we didn't know any of this stuff, and our controls were relatively fast. And we usually flew with an old Easy Just, which is a big handle. And as young people, we had the reflexes. You know, we could take that and where we might just have to wiggle it like that much and have all the deflection we needed to fly it, and we could fly it. As we got older, at least in my case, I can't do it anymore. I have to slow those controls down so that I can handle the airplane. I think there's a place in there somewhere where it's optimum for each person, and I think that's what Bob and what come on,
Kristen.
my
That guy.
Romanian friend there.
That guy there.
Yeah, that guy. I can't remember your name all of a sudden.
Ryan.
Anyway, I think that's what they're talking about. Trying.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're talking about is making these control systems work to each person. There you go, Bob.
Tell you a little story. Anybody know Red Reinhardt? That name?
Yeah.
The name is very familiar.
Yeah. Well, I grew up around Red. Red worked for my dad for 36 years. Red was noted on the East Coast as the best flyer, and people would look at his airplanes and marvel that the CGs were very far aft on the airplanes, and yet he could fly them very stably. It didn't look sensitive at all. And nobody bothered to check the speed of his control system. He would take normal bell cranks and move the push rod in as close to the center, the pivot point, as he could. Matter of fact, he even machined down the bushing so you get the push rod in almost at just off the center of the push rod. So full throw of the bell crank, only move the push rod like a quarter of an inch or something, and then he would adjust it at the tail end to have like an eighth of an inch of movement of the elevator up and down. And because the CG was so far aft, the airplanes were responsive but not sensitive.
Yep. That's my weapon of choice right now. That's what I like to have.
Yeah.
I for my flying style and what I like to give it a lot of input to corner the plane. So that in combination with the fact that I have exponential in my controls, where it's very soft around the center, I can still track very nicely in level flight. But still, I think I could use another say quarter of an inch more for CG on it, but no more than that. I think it's fine. Quarter of an inch will stabilize it just a little bit more around the neutral.
I think you'd all be very surprised if you went out to the Nationals and just before somebody took off with electric airplanes with the battery on board, picking the airplane up without the battery on board means nothing. And then you check the CG or the balance point, I should say, not CG's balance point. I think you would find you'd be amazed at how far forward they are. Some of them almost right on the leading edge at the root, like an inch back at the most. and those airplanes are turning blinding large.
Well, that's why we found on the vectors, we went with a 300 milliamp 4-cell pack because they were heavier. Because I figured, why just put lead in the nose when you hardly take any power out of the battery and they last longer.
Or you can extend the nose out longer and put a lighter battery in further forward.
Right.
Less weight on the airplane.
But I didn't want to cut into that vector ARF and.
No, I'm just saying, in subsequent airplanes, you could just make the nose longer, move the battery forward, and you have the same static weight as you did with the shorter nose, but balance points further forward because you're moving the battery forward.
That's what we have on a new plane now. We have new bulkheads inside of the nose construction, which allows the battery to be slid forward.
Yeah, we all move them around up and down. The nice thing about electric is you can get your vertical center of gravity and your roll center of gravity and your pitch center of gravity right where you want it. You can't do that in glove. You can get the center of gravity pretty much where you want it. But the fuel's going to burn off anyway. So it's going to move fast as the flight goes on. Electric can move it all.
Yeah. We did not find it necessary to move the vertical CG on the plane anymore because it seemed to be right just as is right now. Although on the original one, on the first prototype, we did allow for that.
Yeah, well, you go out and fly the airplane. It's really funny to note that most of the stunt ships that were ever built, when they go to the field, they fly the first flight. If there's going to be a quote-unquote warp in the wing or one wing higher than the other, isn't it interesting that it's always the outboard wing riding high upright and down inverted rather than the other way around?
Yeah.
Now you think about what's causing that. Everybody then does a flap tweak, trying to get their airplanes level. It's not a flap tweak. The airplanes are built accurate, most of them. It's the fact that the battery is the center of gravity is too low in a low airplane. And when you're swinging around in a circle, you have centrifugal force, and it's tethered at the lead house. So when it's going around and the low center of gravity pushes out, it can only push the outboard wing up.
Yeah, that's
it pushes it down. So if you move that weight up, it'll bring that wing level.
Yeah, it has a negative moment of force which lifts up the wing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's something else.
Mine is pretty much. I want to say that mine is pretty much balanced because the motor it's a little bit higher, battery it's a little bit lower, based on the neutral axis of the plane, and
motor higher.
Yeah, the motor is higher, the battery is lower, so it balances out.
Why do you have the motor higher now?
Why do I have it like that?
Yeah,
it just kind of kept the looks and the staggering proportions, like
what
it's basically is the SV proportion, like how much higher is
why that happened originally, why the center line of the engine got higher?
No, don't worry.
Bigger propellers. With bigger propellers, you needed more ground clearance. And if you had a longer prop, you needed
I'm buying that.
You needed a very long landing gear.
Yep, I'm buying that.
We move the motor up. Now we're all putting them down in line. Everything's in line on everybody's new airplanes. Long goes in line, and using 11-inch prop, that Ebro prop, is very light, and we're able to keep the landing gear short enough that it doesn't cause a problem. And the airplanes fly better.
Yeah, I think there are some planes that fly very well. The inline planes, some planes that are inline, but when I'm thinking about the design in general, almost all of them have a very forward CG, like you just said. And I think the reason for that is that because they don't track very well. If you put the CG aft, you have all this dirty air come from the wing and from the motor on the elevator, and
let's call it the balance point instead of the CG.
Okay, balance point. Whatever you call it.
What does it matter where the balance point is if the airplane flies like it's supposed to?
Yeah.
Well, there is a reason to watch the balance point, Bob, and I know you know this already, but I find that when I do my loops, as I go around in the consecutive loops, if I have to keep adjusting to maintain the radius of that loop, it's because either the tail is being flung out because it's too heavy, or the nose is being flung out because it's too heavy, indicating that it's nose heavy or tail heavy. It opens up, it's nose heavy on an inside loop. If it opens up, it's nose heavy. If it closes up, it's tail heavy. So that tells me where to adjust my CG or my balance point. I balance that so that when I do those particular loops, I can hold the control and I don't have to adjust it in and out to try to keep the circle round.
Okay, but
Go ahead.
what I'm saying is, if the airplane flies correctly in all respects, loops and everything else, and the balance point is very far forward, that's where the balance point wants to be.
Yes, I
Yep.
agree with that. What I understand is from what John is saying is that if you, and the way I see it is that the more forward CG you have, the more correction you have to make during the loop, because you're cycling anyways. At 45 degrees, you have less. You have 80% of the 75 to 80% of the lift that you have in level flight, just because of the wing. It's at 45 degrees elevation, right? So the projection of the wing on the ground is it's 0.8 something, whatever the cosinus of 45 is, right? Or the sinus is same thing, right? It's 0.7. So you have 30% less lift on the top of the loop, right? So you need to compensate for that with your controls. Now, the more forward your CG is, the more compensation you do.
I don't find
if this is your neutral point,
flying the airplane, I don't feel that. When I have the balance point where it's supposed to be, I don't feel that in the loop. The loops just track just perfectly every time.
Okay.
And that's
Exactly.
That's the one thing in stunt that really annoys me lately is nobody's doing round maneuvers anymore. Everybody's so focused on squares, but nobody's tracking beautiful round maneuvers anymore. I see D's and I see hexagonals and I see all kinds of weird stuff, and I can't figure out why that is.
Well, we've always
because they haven't got the balance point.
if you read stunt articles from like the 1940s, people are bragging about how tight their airplanes will turn and how tight they'll square. And you'd think by now we'd be, when we'd hit the controls, the airplane would just vanish and reappear in a different direction. It must be turning so quick. But that's been, that's always been the mantra, if you will.
Yeah, the zero radius corner.
And it's there's the stunt pattern, and I know Bob and I have talked about this. There's a lot of technical elements in there, but there's artistic elements too, and it's transitional things.
The pattern,
and it's things like
also
a really good round loop. You should be able to cut yourself on, and you won't do that in many cases because they're not flown with the degree of precision that some of the square corners are.
The pattern is all its grace and beauty. It's become very angular and it just doesn't look pretty anymore. And I think a lot of it is because they're trying to trim these airplanes to do a zero radius corner. I don't get that. That doesn't make it better in my mind. I mean, some people may think so, but it doesn't make it better in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not pretty, why do it?
I agree with you. I'd like to see us actually I've thought about taking a record player or something out there to play music while I fly for everybody to hear. Well, like you're doing a ballet in the air with your airplane.
Yeah, well, it's been done. It's hard to find a piece of music you can fly to, but.
Well, the point is that when you're flying the airplane, when you're flying it, well, it is making, if you'll pardon the analogy, it's making its own music.
Yeah, well, sure.
If you watch, if I'm going to drag up a name we were talking, if you watch Bob Giovini fly, he made music. All right. He was an extremely, technically competent, but his patterns were beautiful to look at.
One of the best flights I ever saw in my life, and I still remember it like it was yesterday, was him flying the Olympic in 1961 at the Nats. In my mind, he could have won that thing by a mile and a half. It was the prettiest thing I've seen before or since.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it was on rails.
Yeah, and I never saw him fly the Olympic, but I saw him fly the big eclipse in 1969 when he won, and he was in a different time zone from everybody else. He just
He won
looked
at
so good.
65 with the eclipse.
65, thank you. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
And he was just, I mean, there was nobody in the same
Yeah.
zone with him. He was just so far ahead of it as far, the total package, the
And it
total
was
presentation,
really
the beautiful artistic performance that was technically correct, to heights and intersections and everything like that. It was a beautiful thing to watch.
Yes, it was.
And it was things like he was running the first engine muffler that I ever saw.
Beneflow.
And it was amazing how that just the softness of the sound of the engine.
He was the first.
Added to the artistic impression of
He was the first one to win a national for the muffler. That Beneflow.
Yep.
That Merco.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you guys are.
There are some control liners that are a pretty good many control liners are musicians. I think we should get somebody to compose a pattern song. It's not a song; it's a piece, I guess.
Billy has done that. Billy's done a lot of them actually. Some of them are hilarious, which can't be repeated here. So.
Yeah, Mike, you don't remember the 1965 Nats, do you?
No, that's what I was saying. You guys are old, and as far as music, when it's flying, I hear Slayer in my head, man. So.
And that could be. And it could be. Sometimes I hear that.
I have to remember if I'm flying combat or stunt. Sometimes I get confused as to which one I'm flying.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you fly in stunt, you listen to Bay City Rollers.
I like the Bay City Rollers, man.
I knew that was your time when you were growing up. Bay City Rollers.
Bay City Rollers, Sean Cassidy, Donald Osmond.
All that shit. We were listening to Sammy Hagar when he was in Montrose and.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I like me some Sammy.
I'm more of an Emmylou Harris kind of guy.
So I wasn't participating in the discussion, but I was listening over here, Bob. So you think the pattern today, as flown, is too angular and choppy and square and not as graceful as it used to be in days past? Is that what I'm getting?
General, yeah. I mean, there are some people out there. A notable exception would be somebody like David Fitzgerald, who has it all. I mean, he's flying right sizes, the right shapes, good corners, smooth rounds. I mean, there's a reason why he wins the nationals a lot, because he's a very, very good flyer. But some flyers, and some of the very top flyers, to me, this is just personal now. My look at it, are trying to fly corners that are so tight that when they turn the corner, the airplane comes down and turns, and then the tail keeps going because the inertia of the turn is so great that the tail actually drops.
Okay, all right.
It keeps going.
That's a pretty subtle nuance for any average control line guy to pick up. I guess you'd have to be, really looking for that, or be a judge or something like that. I mean, someone at my level, that's not something I would probably even see in someone's play.
I think you have to have a little bit more of a sampling. If you were able to go back, as Denny was saying before, if you were able to go back and watch, let's say, Bob Gialdini in 1961 or 65 fly the Olympic or the Eclipse or the Stingray, or any one of a number of other guys, Warwidge or any of those guys, that had a fluidity to their pattern. And then look at what's going on today. You might say, well, today's pattern is more technically correct to the rule book. Well, maybe that's true, but it doesn't look as good to me. It just looks too angry and choppy, and it's not pretty anymore.
Okay, I can see that. I get the distinction you're making between the two generations and the it might even be three generations of flying styles.
I'm old. What can I tell you?
Yeah. But ultimately,
I watched
doesn't it matter what the judges are looking for?
Well, yeah, but the judges have been trained to look for technical things rather than pretty things, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
They're so
And the robot,
they're so focused. They're so focused lately, in my opinion. They're so focused on the hardness of the corner, the tightest radius corners. That all they're thinking about is giving points to squares. The round maneuvers could be as terrible as anything, and they still get points. They're not. They're not.
I agree.
Yeah,
patterned.
Let me ask you this, Bob. Well, do you think that
I've seen
transition to looking for hard corners and forgetting about, nice round loops, that's just something that happened over time because everyone was chasing the perfect corner?
Yep.
And that everyone got okay, it's got to, all right, the round maneuvers are round maneuvers. Everybody can do round maneuvers and they look round, but the square maneuvers and the reverse and stuff, the corners, that's something that has always everyone strived to do better and better and better. So they're focused on that more than
they're not flying rounds, in my opinion. It's all my opinion. They're not flying rounds as pretty as they used to at intersections and transitions and things like that. It's being overlooked because whoever flies the hardest corner. And the other part about it is they're focusing on something that's tight patterns. They're not flying at 45 degrees. They're flying at 35 degrees or 38 degrees. They're not flying at 45 degrees. I went out there with a triangle and looked at it, and they're way under 45.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and that was last year at the Nats when Samantha was flying. Banjock was talking to her and saying, "You're doing your maneuvers too big and all this kind of stuff." When she came off the field, David Fitzgerald flew right after her. He watched David Fitzgerald fly, and he goes, "You know what? Forget everything I said." Because he had his up there. I mean, and that was like they were saying that she was flying her level flight too low.
And it cycles. It cycles in our contest and it cycles at the world contest. It used to be again the world, they were flying, the Chinese were flying at like 60-degree tops. And that's all the judges would buy because they were winners. They had won a couple of them. And whatever they decided to fly must be what the flyers are dictating to the judges what they're going to judge well. And I think it should be the other way around. The judges should dictate to the flyers, here's what we want. It's an integrated pattern that has fluid round maneuvers and good-looking squares with some shape to everything. That's my opinion. Nobody's going to change my opinion on it.
But
you don't know what the judge's opinion is going to be that day either, because it's all subjective. The judges might like big maneuvers, they might like small maneuvers, they might like hard corners or round rounds. You never know what you're going to get on a given day.
Well, okay, maybe at a local contest that's true, but at a nationals you have a what they call a talk around. They watch a flight, and then the head judge will have them each say what score they gave and then why, and he will then calibrate them to what he feels is the proper pattern. I've been a judge at 12 nationals and our team trials. I can tell you exactly how it goes.
Okay.
And I don't always agree with the head judge's calibration.
Yeah, that's what Samantha said too.
Bob?
Mm-hmm.
Bob, isn't there a judging meeting beforehand too, where the chief judge sits down and explains what the pattern should be and sets it up for that contest? Because the Nats is one where you go if you fly a technical pattern or if you fly a correct pattern, which might be different. Your correct pattern should and usually does score better.
Well, I think what we're missing here is that both the flyers and the judges should be looking to the rule book for what the correct pattern is. All right? And the thing is that if you have somebody who's only looking at how tight a corner is, but isn't noticing whether it's even turning at 90 degrees, all right, but it just changed direction quickly, or is not watching, or is watching squares, but just kind of paying, half-ass attention to rounds or something like that. You have no
Contention.
no control over anything like that. The one thing I can control as a flyer is to put the very best shape that I think I'm capable of in front of them. Then I've done my job. All right. I can't control what the judge is going to see, and that's and that doesn't and
it's all subjective. It doesn't mean that everyone.
it doesn't mean I don't bitch about judges, because I do.
Well, Ted Thatcher said it once. Ted
We all
Thatcher
do.
said something once that was very sage. He said, "It's the flyer's job to fly the pattern. It's the judge's job to judge the pattern."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty,
Yeah, and on any given day, you may have judges who are sensitive to one thing or the other, and that's the way it goes. And you may have flyers who are putting something on the field, and gee, so and so did good, I'm going to copy them and everything like that. Well, everybody's doing the same thing.
And
What
even
are the
when somebody
judges
comes out and
flying
does it
today?
correctly, it looks like a light bulb went on. So,
and even after the calibration of going through the judge training, they put the judges out there in the circles, and then they're going to do what they're going to do.
that's exactly right.
But Bob, that's good insight. I never knew that about calibration flights and stuff like that. That's good to know,
And generally, it's all good things. We don't always totally agree on where 45 degrees is. We don't always agree on, certain things about the pattern. But I think what they're trying to do is get it so that everybody's seeing generally the same thing on each flight and everybody's flight. You can be fair as possible. Unless you do this by machine, it's never going to be totally objective.
Right.
Well, that's part of the charm of the event.
Let me ask you this crazy question, because I just had this really wacky thought. And has anybody ever done this? Because this just occurred to me. Has anyone ever put a 45-degree angle on a pendulum on their handle that would stay level and point to 45 degrees?
Yeah.
And flown a pattern like. Does anything like that exist? Has anybody done something like that?
It's very easy to do. I'm not sure if they did it, but it's very easy to do. What you do, you have an accelerometer, right? And when you tilt it at 45 degrees, you can make an LED come on, right?
Yeah.
So every time when you fly and you see the LED blinking, and at 45. So it's either on the top of your maneuver or not. And you can put it like in some kind of a envelope like this on the lines, because it's light enough, it's not going to influence anything. You have 45 degrees, so you put this on the lines, right? So the accelerometer points downwards like this, but when you go at 45 degrees, it's going to be level, right? And the program is super easy. I mean, you can do that easily.
More caveman style than that.
Years ago, Bob Barron and a guy named Mike Bielitz came up with a concept of having 3 different judges, and each one has a different responsibility. 2 of them would be upwind, and 1 would be 90 degrees. The one at 90 degrees would judge heights, 45 degrees, and 90. And then another judge would judge intersections and bottoms, and the other judge would judge shapes.
Wow,
I do that all the time with Samantha.
That's cool.
I stand 90 degrees.
That's a great idea.
Her overheads. I look at the 45.
We tried something like that in Detroit. We had obviously a lot of the same discussions and everything like that. And we didn't try it. We only tried it at 1 or 2 contests, and it didn't work as gracefully as we had liked, and we didn't really stick with it to figure out how to make it work. But I think there's some merit to it. I think that it's not as easy as it seems, I guess, or not as surefire, I guess, as it seemed. At least we didn't find it was.
Anything new is going to take some time to work the bugs out and get used to using it too. I mean, the judges pull them out there and say, "You got to do this." They've never done it before. It's just like saying to someone, "Here's a stunt ship. Go fly a pattern," if they've never done it before.
Yeah. Here's the book. Here's the airplane. Go make it. Make it do the tricks. And then you also get into things like the guy watching the shape, especially since he's been judging flights, watching everything. The guy watching, say, just the shapes, can't help noticing that the shape is really, really big, or the right size or something like that, and that influences his judgment. Yes, there was a beautiful shaped loop there, but gosh, it was awfully big, and that's just not going to be as many points. So it's hard to get to break that habit, if you will.
Sure. But he's supposed to judge shapes, and he's supposed to delegate the responsibility for height.
Exactly.
And that's going to take time.
Yeah, it would be. You'd have to really be on it. So I don't know.
I saw a guy in Italy that makes a video tracking for the planes. And not only that, he also puts a virtual grid on the screen as well. So you can look at the screen, you can calibrate it and stuff like that, put the camera on one point. It really doesn't matter where you're flying because you can see the maneuver and you can see where the 45s are, where the top is and everything else. And there's a video tracking in addition to that. So you can easily create a 3D image on that screen, right? And I think software-wise should be a way to take that video tracking, the existing screen in a perfect shape, and put some kind of a logic to it. So after you fly it just outputs a number and here's your score. It's perfect and it's impartial and nobody can complain like, hey.
I'd have to see it work because I flat out don't believe it can.
All right. Well, here, Dean Pappas, who's a very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Works on a think tank. He's got a 185 IQ. The guy's a genius. And he's into electronics and stuff. So he said, right now, we can take a chip, a little accelerometer chip, and put it in the airplane and zero it. And you can fly the pattern, and it will record every place that the airplane goes within 6 inches. And he said, when you land, you can take it off the CG, put it into a computer, and have it flat map out the whole pattern and give you a percentage of perfection or percentage off perfection, and show you where every mistake is in the pattern. Mm-hmm. That will never.
Wow.
That will never fly in competition because we got a lot of emperors out there who would be naked at the end of the day.
There'd be a lot of top guys going, man, I'm not as good as I think I am.
Or this kid who has.
I think that's awesome.
This kid with his combat ship over here that had monocoat and clear dope on it, he just outscored me by 300 points, So it'll never happen.
Awesome.
But it's possible.
I'll tell you what, find somebody you think that does a really nice overhead 8. And then stand 90 degrees to them and watch them fly that overhead 8.
Who has flown the best overhead 8
over their head?
Who flies the best overhead 8s consistently that you've ever seen in your life?
Probably you.
No, not me. Matter of fact, I was known for having the worst one. The best one I ever saw consistently was David Fitzgerald. And Ted Fancher, too.
Yeah.
But I watched David from the side. They're not overhead.
Really?
Because he's flying them for the judge.
Well, trying to get scored.
And that's the same thing, when you use a 45-degree angle. Find a tree or something. Stand in the center of the circle. Look up, point that to a tree. See where it lands in the tree. Now back up where the judges are. Use a 45-degree angle at 5 feet and see where that points up in the tree. They're different spots.
Hmm.
And what if you're flying for judges who are also trying to account for the same thing, and their estimates of where the plane is, of course, don't mesh with your estimate of where the plane is?
You really have to fly for the judge.
I think it should be the responsibility.
It all boils down to this.
Yeah.
It boils down to this. If it was easy, everybody could do it.
Yeah.
There's that too.
Yeah. There's never been a perfect pattern. There never will be a perfect pattern. It's like trying to play golf.
Yep.
You get better at some things, but you still suffer at others.
Yep.
That's the mystique of the flying stunt.
Yeah.
The one thing
one of the things that I've always thought was helpful was to get out there and put my arm up and try to figure out where 45 degrees is with my arm up. And that helps me find where that is. That's my job to do.
But what I liked about the World Championship
I don't.
is they put
The 45 degrees is just that, a degree. It's not an altitude. Because the different length lines will make 45 degrees at different altitude for,
It's an angle.
right.
I don't know. Yeah, the only perfection
angle,
I've
not
ever
an altitude.
seen, the only perfect sporting event I've ever seen was Secretariat at Belmont.
Yeah, about it.
That was perfection. All right.
Well,
So don't trust anything on two legs. All right. So.
But the one thing they could do is put up cards like they do at the World Championships, so you could see where bottoms are at.
Yeah. As Vance Gilbert would say, never trust a woman with more than 3-inch heels.
I like flying stunt, and I enjoy doing it with my boy. We're having a great time doing it, but I gotta say, the subjective part of the judging makes it a little wishy-washy for me, and that's why combat is our main event. There's no subjectivity. It's a cut. It's not a cut. It's a kill. It's not a kill. Your airtime is airtime, or it's not. There's no subjectivity in that event. And like racing or speed or any of that,
Well, there is a bit.
Yeah, there
is a bit because sometimes cuts aren't seen.
Well,
sometimes cuts are not seen.
Yeah.
The point he's making,
unfortunately, but it's true.
But would you agree, Len, that combat is less subjective than stunt?
You're inherently more objective.
Yes, I would. It's less. Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, and all this stuff isn't going to make me
definitely less.
Stop flying the event. We like the event.
No, I agree. No, I agree.
Come on, we've all been there, man. When you put up a flight and went,
but it is subjective.
That's a really kick-ass flight. I just flew the best flight of my life, and you go look at your score, and you're like, "What the hell?" We looked at this from another perspective.
I know.
Another perspective to look at this from. Let's take the 1970s, because I'm very well aware of who did what back then. Lately, it's been, I'm not exactly sure who won what, either David or Paul. But back then, let's say you had a 10-year period, okay? How many people are going to win the Nationals in a 10-year period?
10.
No. The same guy, man.
Well,
no.
2 or 3.
Theoretically.
How many different guys?
I'd say in a 10-year.
Different flyers. That's right. How many different flyers? Well, you're going to get some that will win it multiple times. Matter of fact, you might get 2 or 3 that win it multiple times, which means that even if you're at the very best of your career and you're flying in that 10-year period, the chances are you're not going to win anyway. And in that 10-year period, there's going to be people coming up to their peak. There's going to be people at their peak, and there's going to be people going off their peak. And in that, there's no guarantee you're going to win, even if you're the best flyer there. So you have to be doing this for some other reason than just winning. You got to do it. You love the event. You love the airplanes. You love flying the pattern. You like the people. There's got to be another reason.
You got to like the people?
Bob,
Bob, hey, Naomi.
Sorry. Bob, you once gave me some advice over the phone a long time ago. I talked about the difference in judging from one contest to the other, and if you were flying, say in the Southwest, and you went up to the Northwest, your scores dropped and all that kind of stuff. And you told me that you had to learn this, and that was you keep flying and you fly the best you can every time. And as the time goes on, you'll get to the point where they'll have to give it to you because you have been learning how to fly it better.
Billy Simons, my mentor.
You remember that?
Yes, and that stemmed from something Billy Simons once told me. He picked me up out of a dust field and taught me how to do all this. And he told, and I got frustrated because I wasn't winning and I knew I was flying good. And he says, "Kid," he always called me kid. He says, "Kid," he says, "if you fly good enough, long enough, they can't keep it from you. They have to give it to you. You got to fly good enough, long enough. It's not a one-time deal. You got to convince them, and sometimes it takes a lot of times convincing them. And the other thing is, when they're ready to watch you, they're not ready to watch you every time. But when they are ready to focus on you for whatever reason, you better deliver the performance.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And if you do, then all of a sudden you shoot up into another realm, and that's where you stay. Bob Gieske once said it too. It was an interesting thing. We were talking about halos, about how some flyers have a halo and they seem to always score well, even if they're not flying well. And he said, and I'll even do it for you in Gieske-ese with the pipe and everything. I asked him, I said, about halos. He says, Bob, it takes a long time to get a halo. It takes a lot longer to tarnish it.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, I'd say there's probably some real truth in that.
Yep. Nobody and
Well, can I ask you-
nobody gave any of these guys that are winning in any of these events. The guys that are winning, you know, you may see them on a bad day when they're not flying at their best, but nobody put them where they are. They earned their way up there in everybody's eyes, someplace along the line. They did enough good flying to get to that stature. You know, you
The
just
name of the guy.
True enough.
go right to the top.
And a lot, you know, that's like the year where your second wind there. You were flying, you outflew everybody during the week, and then the wind came up, and you know,
Yeah, third wind.
you got to be lucky sometimes. And a lot of times, if you fly enough time, your luck and the skill and everything comes together at that time.
Yep.
I mean, you know,
Put it
that,
in creation meet. That's luck.
you know, that week, if the one day ahead before that, you know, with the wind and everything, you may have won. I mean, you were outscoring everybody until the last day when shit just didn't work out, you know, and it's like, it was, you know, sad, too bad, whatever. But
Well, that was my own fault too, Steve, because remember, when I came home from that Nationals, that airplane had 17 flights on it.
right.
So I didn't go out and practice enough. I didn't deserve, no matter how well I was flying it, I didn't deserve to do any better, you know.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that, you know, that's what I used to try to tell Samantha too. We get an airplane ready a week before the contest. And I'm like, what? Now we can't get it trimmed. Usually it takes us 6 months to get the damn thing trimmed out.
Then it
It's
falls
really
apart.
flying well. You know, and here we're taking an airplane out the weekend before we leave. You know, I used to get so mad at her because it was always the mad push at the end.
Yep. I left for that Nationals with 2 flights on that airplane.
You know?
But that's how we do it. We all do that. We go to contests with stuff unproven. That's what we do because we're trying to get something good enough that we think it's good enough to compete with, and it's usually not coming together quick enough.
Yeah. It's a fine point. If you fly an airplane 500 times and practice diligently, someplace along the line, you're going to pick up little fine points that are just a little bit better than the next guy. And remember that nobody wins any of these big contests by 30 points. They're winning by a couple of points.
Yeah.
2 points.
So they're winning by a percentage or less. So if you can fly 1% better, you're going to win.
Well, speaking of world beaters, here's my next world beater. I just finished framing up
All right.
the Stringless Wonder
Yeah.
polymers. All the framing is done on board. I did that while we were all yapping. And on the back it says, "Be a winner too. Buy a Stringless Wonder. The best flight we know of is 12 minutes and 10 seconds
Wow.
on this rubber model."
Oh,
I thought the next airplane you
Wow.
were going to put together was that SV-11.
Yeah, it's right there. I got a little distracted by some of my rubber kits and my hand launch glider stuff. The Galaxy's right there in the vise. I'm still working on that one. Doping the wing. What's the hurry, man? I mean, I don't even have to have an airplane ready for stunt until Canton, Georgia. That's going to be the first contest. Paducah's done. No more August contest at Paducah. I'm not flying stunt at the Nats, just combat. So I don't need a stunt plane till Canton, Georgia, which is second or third week of August.
Well, I look at it like I just said to Samantha. Why are we always taking an airplane out for the first time a week before a contest?
Well, yeah, there's that. I'll get it out.
You could just
I'll
put
get it out too.
a week before the contest because you've flown it for 6 months every day, and this week here don't even matter.
Steve, that's because if it wasn't for the last minute, nothing would get done. That's all.
Nothing would get done. Right.
See, that drives me crazy about this last minute stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So don't be prepared. No,
Steve,
it's like, oh,
I won't wait. I won't wait till the last week, Steve. I'll wait till the last 2 weeks before Canton to take the SVI.
yeah.
Okay.
Hey, can I jump in here for a second? I got
Go ahead,
yeah, I was trying to say a couple of things back when my internet kept popping out, but I wanted to talk about the corners, if we can revert to that for just a minute here. And the rule book doesn't say anything except that your corners should be, and I can't quote exactly, reasonably tight. And somebody even, they used to say 5 feet, but I don't think anybody tries to measure it like that anymore.
You know where that came from?
So that opens up some room instead of snapping 90-degree corners. That opens up some room for artistic improvisation, you know, and flying a graceful flight could come in those areas that you don't get taken off for not doing an exact.
But the judges take up for that now. That's the problem. Do you know where that 5-foot radius thing came from that was in there for so long?
I heard something about George Aldrich.
Yeah, you know, when he was contracted by AMA in 1957 to design a new pattern, he and a guy named Ross McMullen went out in a field, and Ross hand launched his airplane and one of his Noblers, and they flew the pattern and they worked it up, and then George said, "Well, we got to put some numbers on this thing, you know, what radiuses and things." He says, "How tight is this thing turning?" And McMullen says, "Oh man, you're turning a 5-foot radius corner," and that's what they put in. That's how that came to be. It was an arbitrary number.
Yeah.
But you know,
that is arbitrary, and it might have been their best guess, but it's hard to, hard to say.
Well, it's also if you
therein
take
lies a little artistic impression. If you want to do graceful, swooping corners, you'd have to be flying a little slower than some people like to fly now. But that's one thing, and another is y'all also talked about the perspective. I think Steve started talking about the pilot flying one way to try and impress the judges with his shapes the most is trying to account for the judge's perspective, knowing that what this shape you fly is going to look around to the judges, and other people will go out and just let that be the judge's responsibility, because the judges already know, if they've been judging a long time, what their position in relation to the plane looks like as far as what they deem judged to be perfect. And it could be even worse, like I did manage to get in earlier. It could be even worse when both the judges and the pilots are doing all this impromptu calculation in their head and come out being a real mess. So which way do you take it to the field? When do you try to make the judges see something, or do you just let them figure it out and fly what looks like a perfect?
Rusty, one thing about soft corners is if you don't have a flat spot between the corners, it doesn't really look good as a square or a hard corner.
Yep.
So you've got to turn it hard enough to have some flat between the corners. And as far as flying for the judges, listen, there are people who are everybody does it differently. Some get out there and say, "I'm going to fly the best I can." Others say, they'll watch a flight and see what the guy gets for a score to try to figure out what the judges are buying. But the judges at the beginning of the contest or the beginning of that flight, the flights that day, judge differently than they do in the middle and at the end. They loosen up, they tighten up. You can't really fly for the judges. You got to get out there, in my opinion, and fly your best flight with the pattern as you feel that it's the best pattern.
Well, that thing you said about
If you
That's
do
the only
that,
thing that
you'll
makes sense to me, because I've done some judging alongside Dave Wenzel, and it turns out we both do think a lot alike. And I forgot where I was going with this now, but y'all carry on. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
John brought up an important point here, right? Squares. What's the most important thing in a square? The flats. That's what makes a square look square. The corners happen.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Now that
Happen to your
I
craft,
agree, that could be
right?
as possible.
So having said that, you want the airplane to fly as much of its own length, as many times its own length as it possibly can in the legs of the squares. That makes them look squarer. So flying on longer lines gives you more linear distance from 5 foot to 45 degrees. If you have an airplane that turns relatively tight, it's going to look squarer because you're flying longer legs. Squares.
If you fly
Yep.
those longer legs and it still looks like you're hitting the 45-degree elevation, then I think the logical conclusion is that yes, he's turned a pretty darn tight corner, and yes, he's flown a pretty darn accurate maneuver.
There's a lot of illusion here.
So I think that's really one of the reasons that I just reading it the other day. Bob Palmer was going to airplanes like the Skyscraper. It looked like a kind of a cross between a T-bird and a
Can't hear you, Denny.
but it was 650 squares and 45, powered by a 45 when the standard airplane was a Fox 35 Nobler or T-bird. And he put it on long lines and flew relatively slow. And it seemed to be taking its time flying the maneuver. All right. He was flying long sides. He was flying a lot of time. It was really milliseconds difference, but he was flying relatively slow. So he's flying a long time between those corners, and you could see, well, gee, he must be doing the right size on the bottom because he does the same size on the top of a vertical 8 as he did on the bottom, so it must all be the right size. But he's flying in like 68 foot lines instead of 58 foot lines. And I'm sure that I'm sure Lou McFarland was driven to that same thing when he started with the first of his Shark 45s and stuff. I think Billy Warwich tried going there after watching McFarland win the Nationals. I think that influenced his change from what I would call a standard size Aries to Super Aries with the same KMB 45 engine that McFarland was using, but a much bigger airplane and everything like that. And but I think it comes back to flying on the long lines, flying long flat surfaces between the corners and stuff like that. That can all look really good.
Yeah.
So,
gentlemen, I'm going to have to punch out of here. I got to go take my doggie out and get to bed. So.
Alrighty.
Okay.
All right. Good night.
Been an interesting.
Yeah.
See you, Bob.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you
Have a
take
good
care, my
Have a
friend.
great week. Thanks
Good
for coming
topic.
in, and thanks for coming, helping us entertain ourselves.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Anyhow.
Yeah, Denny, your mic is cutting in and out on you there, so just so you know.
All right. I don't know. I've tried about everything I can on these things here, and not even sure what to try next. So, all right. Am I any better? Is this better?
Yeah, it's good
Yeah,
now.
this is better.
Fine now. It faded out for about 15 seconds, really bad, at about the middle of your paragraph to Bob Hunt, and then it came back just as good as it was before.
Yeah. Okay.
Where'd Mike go? Oh, there you are.
He's up there at the top corner.
Yeah, there he is.
Hey, Mike, this is what I
When
show
it's in
you
grid.
NASA all the time. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm a state
What's that, a
champion.
puke bowl?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm over here. I'm multitasking, man. I'm keeping in touch with family back home and listening to the live chat at the same time. So,
So I used
Plus
to
building
tell
a Stringish
Samantha,
wonder.
you know, when I started practicing to win that trophy, the year before I fell flat on my face trying to win that trophy.
Yeah.
It was a year before,
Yep.
you know, and I kept this off of the one shotgun that I won it with, and I won other stuff at the nationals and stuff like that. But I hand carved this to fit me. So when I sold the shotgun, it wouldn't fit anybody else. It was a rough, out blank, and I carved and sanded on this thing for 6 months to get the gun to. That's, with Bob winning the world championships, Dave winning the Watson Cup. I mean, you got to put in the time and the want and all, really the practice and everything else. But I could never do it again because I could never put that much time, that much concentration and stuff as I did in the year 2002. It just,
Steve,
I never could do it again.
since you showed me your trophy, I'm going to pull up a picture I found the other day and share it with you guys here in a minute. You'll get a kick out of this, but continue on. It's going to take me a minute to find it.
Oh, okay. But no, I mean, that's just what it takes, how much time you want to put into something. I talked to Dave about it. It's like, God, to do that much practicing and win, Paul Walker and them, they got something that a lot of us don't have. The willingness to put everything towards that trophy and stuff,
That's it.
So live it, eat it, and breathe it.
Yeah. And most
That
people
costs me too much life. That's other things I like to do.
It was just the thing with the money, the time. Samantha was she wasn't even 2 years old when I won that. But after that, I stopped because paying child support and stuff, I could no longer afford to put that kind of money into my shooting. It was all going to her mom.
Well, that's kind of life, isn't
Yeah.
it? There's a time for everything.
Yeah. And it's a deal now, I haven't shot in about 3 years. And I was going to go a couple weeks ago, but there's something in me that says don't do it because you're going to want to shoot where you shot before. I know me. And
You're not gonna
Go do it. Go do it, man. You might get some satisfaction out of it, man. Go have fun. Go relive your glory days and start shooting again.
that's the thing is I can't have fun anymore shooting. I tried. It's all the competition deal to where I want to win. I want,
I understand that. I fully understand that.
I took all the fun out of shooting is what I did.
Oh, well, I don't go to shooting competitions, but I sure have a ball going out with my wife and kids and busting clays and hitting dingers and poppers and beer cans and whatever else. We love it.
Well, yeah, I know that's what with Samantha. I take her out, shooting rifle and handguns because I can still have fun doing that. I never went in to trying to be the best or whatever. But with shotgun shooting, I did. I mean, that was my life for about 10 years. The only thing I did. Every cent of money I went towards it. Every single minute of free time. I was shooting 4 or 5 days a week and spending thousands of dollars a week doing it. And it was just going to all these contests and stuff like that. I mean, it was just too much. I mean, I'd run down to Florida for 3 days and then drive back home. It was just crazy.
Well, that's why you don't.
That's the nice.
That's why you don't see Igor Berger going to Brodax and flying junkyard wars.
Yeah.
How about
He
that?
doesn't want to do that.
Okay,
That's the nice. that's the nice thing about stunt flying, though, is when they come to the skill classes, it made a lot of difference because not everybody could put in the time and the effort to win expert all the time, but you can put in enough time and effort to, if you're like an intermediate flyer, you can, if you can't get any better than what an intermediate flyer flies, you'll be an intermediate for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But if you practice and get better, you'll work your way up. If you don't, you won't. If you can't put the time in it, if you can't put the time in it to be the best, then you can put the time in to be best in another class.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, Mike, you find your stuff?
I did, and Dennis, you'll get a kick out of this too.
All right.
This was all Michigan stuff here. Okay, let's see if it comes up. Can y'all see that picture?
Oh yeah.
Len,
All
can you
right.
see that picture?
Look at that T-shirt.
Okay, so let me explain what's going on here. This was right after our 8th grade field trip to Toronto when we went to the Science Center. That's why I'm wearing the Canadian Len. Because
I can't get the picture.
Oh, you can't get it?
I
Okay.
just got it. Just a
No.
second.
So I think I'm probably 13 or 14 in this picture, maybe. And all those trophies, Dennis, those are all trophies that I won in Michigan flying rubber powered free flight stuff.
Really? Okay.
That's
great.
all.
That
It's
is
all
sure
rubber,
cool.
that's all rubber powered trophies from going to the Michigan State meet at the Utica test track and also attending contests at the old University of Detroit gymnasium. Do you remember when they had indoor meets at the U of D basketball court?
No, I did not. I was never active in free flight, nothing in indoor or anything like that. I was aware that there were indoor clubs. I never went to.
So we would go to indoor rubber meets during the winter, and we hit a few in the summer. There was a couple out in Southfield back before like 12 Mile and Telegraph all got developed. There was a free flight club out there. But anyway, I won all those trophies over a period of about 2 years. And the big one in the back with the cup and the airplane on it, that's the Albert J. Weifels trophy. I don't know who he was, but that was for winning the Michigan State meet at the test track, probably in 1980 or 1981. So I was probably 13 in that picture, 13, maybe going on 14.
That's incredible.
Hey, Mike.
That's incredible. And you still got that intense, steel-eyed look to you too. Just like I see you walking around.
Well, and let me tell you this, so that because I won that the Michigan State meet, I got to go to an awards banquet at some swanky hotel with my dad, and Duke Fox was the keynote speaker. We got to hear Duke Fox come up and give a speech about model aviation and the importance of kids participating in flying. And I think I might even have a picture floating around of me and my dad and Duke Fox back in like I said, this was 1980, 1981. Len, I wish you could see the picture because I'm wearing a Toronto Maple Leaf Canada shirt.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
I see it, Mike. I see it.
Good night, guys.
See you later. You
Good
talk
night.
about
Good night.
Sam being a string bean.
Yeah.
Look how you.
Now we know where he got it from.
Guess that you would have grown up as big as you are looking at that picture.
Yeah.
Oh, let me get rid of that. How do I get rid of that?
That's an awesome picture, Mike.
Yeah. So I got a little rubber powered free flight in my background there,
Cool.
For sure. That's cool.
Well, hey, free flight flyers are the best builders. So
Yes,
I've always believed that, and I've never been able to build a free flight. So
Me neither. I suck at it.
Yeah.
Well, that's Steve's giving me shit about the about the SV11 not getting built. I started looking after I built those hand launch gliders. I started looking at other stuff, and I'm finding all this rubber stuff that I bought over the years, and just been waiting to build so I can fly it with Sam. And I got to be honest, he's not very interested in being out here and building these with me because stick and tissue stuff is just it's tough.
Not his thing.
Yeah.
It's not his thing. He wants to fly RC planes and control line planes. But once I build all this stuff, he'll go fly it for hours and hours. I guarantee it.
Oh, for sure.
He'll have a ball flying it. But I've got 4 or 5 more rubber kits up there, and I think I'm just going to churn them out, man. I'm just going to chug them out and revisit my old rubber-powered days from when I was a kid, man.
You're gonna
As long as you're having
more
fun, that's all that
contests again, Mike?
What's that?
You gonna start doing some rubber powered flight or contests again?
No, I'm not interested in doing any of that. This is just stuff for us to take when we go fly control line and just go have a little bit of fun, a little diversion. But
Yeah.
I built a lot of rubber stuff when I was a kid, and I liked it, man. I liked it.
I guess that helps me understand. A couple of weeks ago, you called it out, or you saw my nephew was posting stuff on Facebook, his rubber scale models and stuff. I guess now this really helps me see the perspective. That was something you could really identify with what he was doing there. So
Well, that seeing Archie stuff kind of got me. Was it Archie or no?
Arch 3.
Arch 3.
Yeah.
Seeing his stuff on Facebook is kind of what kicked me in the ass a little bit to start getting my rubber stuff down again. Because I was seeing all his cool builds on there. And you know who else is big into, well, not so much rubber, but hand launch gliders is Sean McKinty. Dan's
Okay.
He does.
Sean Macken.
Yeah, he actually messaged me the other day because he saw all the thermic 20s that I built. And he was like, "Hey, where'd you get those kits from?" And we've been messaging back and forth. It just kind of lit a little fire under me to revisit something from my youth.
Stuff that you enjoy, from your youth. I mean, that's the best part of life.
Well, and it's nothing. I'm sitting here listening to all of us prattle on about everything. I might, I can cut a few balsa sticks and glue them down while we're sitting here yapping.
Most definitely. Hey, and at least you're getting something done. A lot of us are just sitting. We're not doing anything. That's awesome.
Well, you're all going to be building Delta darts here come soon. We're going to get that thing going, and we're going to all build a rubber-powered plane.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I think I got a kit for one of those.
When I was that age and stuff, a little bit younger than that, I got all them rubber powered planes. And the one reason I quit doing it was none of them flew worth the shit. So I'm not really thinking that I'm going to do that great on this new one.
It's so simple, Steve. Even you couldn't screw it up, man. I promise you.
We'll see how good it flies.
I can
Need
do
to get,
one. I can get a piece of foam.
I got a few emails coming in
I can
from
build
about
one.
what's
3
the
or 4
plan?
people that I need to get on the ball. Say what?
I'm sorry. I was telling
How are you
Steve.
going
Oh,
to
go ahead.
run this, Mike? How are you going to run this, Mike? What's the plan here?
Everybody needs to get an address to Rusty, a mailing address, and Rusty's going to put them all in one email and send it to me, and then I'm going to box up kits and ship them to everybody that wants to participate.
I'm going to do one, Mike. I just don't have any grand illusions that mine's going to fly 5 minutes or whatever.
Well,
But
stop gluing it together with
Doesn't matter.
5-minute epoxy.
yeah, and there's going to be no cost to anyone for this. I'm going to do I've got the kits. I'll do the shipping. I'll pay for everything. Everybody that wants to do one is going to get one. So
Only cost Len is our pride.
it's going to cost you 30 or 45 minutes of your time on a live chat, but that's the deal. You got to build it while we're talking.
All right, we'll do a build night. That's awesome.
I hope it does fly.
I
good.
just I just posted my email address to the video chat, not the YouTube chat, the one right in here. And I've gotten 3 or 4 people, and I've got a whole long list of them. We probably need to compare notes on that, Mike. But excuse me, oops. The puppy chewed it up today, so I got to piece it back together and get off. I had about 20 names on a list.
20.
And you and I can agree
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, we got to figure out who's
You-
going to, because I got
you and I
15
can agree
kids.
on, you know,
I got 15 kids.
15 kids. Okay.
Yeah, and I think somebody, Bill,
Well,
said
everybody
he
on
had
that.
one. Bill said he already had one. So,
I think I have
Okay.
one too, Mike. I'll go down and check.
yeah, Delta Dart.
Yeah, anybody that's got one, let us know. That way we can whittle down my secret list until we get enough to match up with however many contestants need them.
Yeah. Steve,
I've only got about 3 or 4 emails so far.
you all know what a Delta Dart is, right? Everybody's seen one, right?
Yeah.
You've showed it to us.
Well, I'm going to show it again. That's the plan right there. You build it. You build it right on the plan. The plan is your covering. Of course, you turn it upside down so that, but you build on the back side of the plan. It's all right there. It's
Okay.
11 balsa sticks, and you're done. That's it. It's easy, super easy. You need
And
a
they're
razor
all
blade.
pre-shaped and everything.
You need a no. You got to make your cuts. It's going to be balsa sticks, and you got to make your angled cut. You need a piece of foam board, a razor blade, some white glue, and some pins, and that's it. Easy stuff. Steve, if you want to get a trophy that's big like mine, you got to build your Delta Dart and have the longest flight, and we'll get you a big trophy.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm doubting if it happened. I'm trying to type in my damn address. And
I don't know. We can get him a trophy, but can we get him one of those cool Maple Leaf T-shirts?
yeah.
We'll put Len in charge of
Hey,
that.
Mike.
Is there a difference
Mike,
What?
how about give me that list again? I'm
the
putting it in my
Canadian
notes.
T-shirts?
I'm going to
Yeah.
include it in every email. The things you need, starting with foam board and
Foam board, Elmer's white glue, a razor blade, and some common pins. That's it.
got it. Okay. Maybe a roll of tape.
Well,
But
yeah, take
everybody
the
can figure that kind of
plan
stuff.
down on the foam board.
Can't you use CA?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. So the only epoxy or CA that you would use would be to attach the wings to the fuselage when you put the dihedral in the wings. And it's actually kind of neat. You build the rudder right onto the motor stick. And then if this is your motor stick and it has the Delta rudder on it, you flip it over so the Delta rudder, the triangular rudder, is facing down, and you put the prop on it and set that on your board. So your prop is down on the board, your rudder is down on the board, and then you pin the wing, and that gives you the dihedral for the wing. If that makes sense to anybody.
Yeah.
You don't have to
I
measure,
sent it to you, Rusty.
you don't have to measure the dihedral in the wing. The prop being on the board and the rudder being on the board. And once because you don't glue the 2 center joints on the wing, you make it so it's flappy. You don't glue those joints, but then you pin it all down on the plan and then you hit it. You can use CA or a dab of epoxy on each side to glue the dihedral joint. And then once that's all done, pull it off and your dihedral joint is done. Listen, this is like third grade stuff, man. Anybody who's built anything can build this airplane. It's pretty simple.
If I can get my fingers to work,
Is
I'm
there
going to
a,
build a
is
shit
there
out
a
of it.
difference? Is there a difference between
Why?
a Delta Dart and an AMA Cub?
Yes. No. Wait a minute.
Okay.
AMA Cub.
Is it the same airplane?
I don't think so. I think the AMA Cub is
That's
that
what
one
the-
that has kind of a squared off wing and a squared off fin. I think it's a little bit bigger. Or is that
No.
sound right?
No, the Cub and the Delta Dart are the same airplane. So the
Okay.
Delta
I'll bring the plane. I'll bring the.
Go ahead, Len.
Yeah.
I think he went to get his.
Okay, so I have one. Okay. I thought it was.
Yeah, it's the Dart is triangular wings, triangular tail.
Yeah, I thought it was the same airplane.
Yeah, they call it the
I just
AMA
wasn't quite sure.
the AMA Cub or the Delta Dart. Midwest sells it as the Dart.
I'll bring the kit up and I'll just bring the plan. Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a triangular wing.
Yeah, AMA also sells another version called the AMA Racer, which is a very similar thing, but longer wing and sleeker, more sporty, and a little bit faster. It's a little harder to build because it's a little more delicate. But the Racer has less wing area, but you can put a bigger motor on it and it'll go further.
I'm interested to see how well I can do with these fingers. I did okay in the shop yesterday, but I had a hell of a time with some Teflon tape. That stuff's a pain in the ass sometimes.
What were you taping?
Brass fittings for airlines.
Okay.
I had to put couplings on so I could get the right attachment to blow my computer out. Holly's using it pretty intensely for work now, and it's starting to rise. Temperature's starting to rise, so I'm going to take it outside, take the covers off, and blow the dust out off the heat sinks, and try not to blow the fans out of balance. It's so tempting to make one of them fans go, but and it ruins the bearings.
Do
I
you
could
know,
have
Dennis?
cannibalized my painting, but I didn't want to cannibalize my paint stuff. What'd you say, Mike?
I was going to ask Dennis. Do you know if Archie is scratch building all that rubber stuff that he does?
Yes, he is.
He is. That's all scratch built stuff from.
Yeah, he's been. He's not only that, but he does things like he built that elliptical airplane, the elliptical wing Hawker Tempest, with he laminated the curved outlines and stuff like that instead of cutting them in pieces. So he laminated them out of thin pieces. Glued the laminations together, so they keep the form and everything like that. But the so-called no-cal scale class that they run is actually pretty close to the fancy Delta Dart or something like that. It's all basically a single-side tissue. They build it on a frame. They're typically, the wings are airfoiled. They're not flat. But the shapes are, they're usually pretty scale outlines and stuff. I'm trying to find one here. But
yeah, there you go, Len.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's it, Len. That's the one.
There. All right, I thought so. Okay, we're good.
So,
right.
just an FYI,
We'll build that.
you want to
Should be fun.
iron that plan sheet. You want to iron that before
Paper.
you tape it down.
Okay.
Just don't steam it. Just with a warm iron, not steam.
No
Don't get any
problem.
water on it, but you
No,
want
we're going to use the iron. No, use the mono-coating iron.
yeah. Well, you can use your household iron. Just don't get to the
Yeah.
steam.
I'll use I use the mono-coating iron.
Iron it flat so it lays flat on the board. Otherwise, you'll end up. It'll be looking like
No problem.
saggy pantyhose. But yeah, Dennis, Archie's stuff.
Oh, I hate that.
He's
Okay, I got it.
printing graphics on his tissue when he covers his airplanes, and it just looks amazing.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Is that coming up very good?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's a 8-inch wingspan Hawker Tempest, and it's like Mike says, it's all printed. He prints the plans, prints the tissue, and then of course builds the airframe over the plans, and then sticks the tissue down. He's got these on the Hip Pocket plan site. And you can actually download these things for free if you want it. He's got a couple of those. He's got a couple little air racers and stuff like that. So
That propeller resembled a kayak paddle.
Well,
he actually improved his propellers a lot. He making them out of paper. They're basically regular paper stock, and literally rolls his own, and he's got a YouTube video on how to do that, and it's really ingenious. But
yeah, screw control line, man. I'm going to free flight. I'm going to rubber free flight, man.
Well, the stuff that they do there is really amazing. Yeah, that's his form. That's basically a piece of paper. He prints out a propeller and then rolls that. He'll have a 3-bladed prop when he's done. That's for he's building an F4F Wildcat.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff what he's doing, man. Yeah.
That's the printed Wildcat, and that's the plan for the Wildcat. All right.
Yeah, I see all this stuff on Facebook, and he's in the. Now, I'm sure he belongs to some free flight groups or some rubber power group, but
he was in the Cloudbuster, or what's the other one? Not Cloudbusters, Flying Aces. Detroit Flying Aces. Yeah.
Well, on Facebook, I'm seeing all this stuff in the Balsa Model Builders group is where he posts, and I just love seeing it.
Flying Aces.
It's great. Like I said, I'm done with control line. I'm doing rubber free flight now, man. I got 8 PAs for sale, man. Who's buying?
I'll tell you what, you could sell those before. Don't say that too loud.
Yeah, man.
You're going to have people beating down your door for that.
Me, I want the new 75.
You can have it. 10,000 Canadian, man. It's all yours, friend.
Glad my internet quit cutting off on me. That was a headache.
That was a really good discussion earlier with Bob and judges and judging and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it.
I missed some of it too from rebooting and all. That sucked. That's one of my favorite topics.
Oh, we lost Len.
When did they start doing flaps? I've seen flaps.
About 1950, they first started messing around with them, and they became.
Who was the first one, Denny?
First one I've seen. I don't think he was actually first with it, but the first one to make them popular would have been Bob Palmer's Go Devil.
That's the one I remember, but there's
another
somebody
name
that he got the idea from.
Yeah, there was an article, and it's in Tom Morris's bibliography of articles. He had the original article, or they started talking about the idea, just the concept of using flaps for stunt. So I haven't seen it. I've just seen the bibliography listing. I think it was dated, I want to say 1948, but I'd have to go back and find it
I think
again.
that's about right.
Yeah.
There was no
Those
looking back.
flaps on the Glow Devil. Those
Yeah, there's
flaps on the Glow Devil look like an.
Yeah, the flaps on the Go Devil look like an afterthought. You're exactly right. They were an inch wide, about 8 or 10 inches long on either side. You're just kind of stuck on the back of the wing, and it took them a long time to refine it. My old flying buddy Wesley Dick, first read about flaps and didn't know anything else about them, so he built his then new Barnstormer. He built it with flaps that went half the span of the wings, because that's the way they went on full size airplanes. So he shows up at the field, and his flying buddy has a Barnstormer built, and he just made the flaps full span. He didn't bother cutting them off in the middle. So he said, well, after that, he started making all of his flaps full span. So that was research and development back in the day, you know.
Have there been any
I remember
airplanes without flaps that have won any contests lately?
Well, in profile,
yeah,
sure.
The humbug that comes to mind immediately.
The Tiyasaki.
And it had the Bob Bear, and it was the Tiyasaki.
Tiyasaki in profile, the Sakatumi. I won a bunch of contests in intermediate with my Sakatumi elevator only.
There you go.
What was the
a couple times.
SIG had ARL.
Primary Force.
Primary Force. Yeah. That was a good airplane.
The guys in our club, they said that's one of the best flying non-flap stunners there is.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a laser cut short kit of that when Mikey Pratt released them again about 4 years ago on Stunthangar, 3 or 4 years ago. Actually, I got the XL, the Primary Force XL. It's a bigger version than what SIG made.
Is there
Primary Force fairly small.
Is there no full-size aircraft that have flaps that work with the elevator?
They tried it in some aerobatics. I know that. I don't remember what the result of it was.
Japanese Army fighters in World War II had maneuvering flaps.
Really?
The Hayabusa, the Oscar, and there was the one after that, I think, had flaps that worked with the elevator to try to tighten them when they were still working on maneuverability is king, and before they got into big engines and airspeed and pounce tactics and everything like that. That was one of the things they used. But yeah, look up find even a Wikipedia listing or something like that on the Ki-43 Nakajima Ki-43 Hayabusa. It talks about combat flaps or butterfly flaps or something like that worked with the elevator, and that's as close as you're going to get that I know of. So there may have been, John, you say some of the modern aerobatic airplanes have tried it?
Yeah, some of them tried it. I can't remember a whole lot more about it, but I know the consensus was they worked about as good as they do on a stunt plane. But why they didn't stay with it, I don't know. But I don't know of any recent ones that have got them.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because the pilot blacked out.
You see one fly through a Lumshavak, you can believe that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's an old time legal stunt ship. It's full body, 1948, I think, 49, somewhere where it was designed, and it's got full flaps on it. Maybe it's 50. Anyway, a fellow up here built one, and he didn't do well with it because of the 10-point penalty for having flaps on it. But I flew that and it would fly the whole modern pattern with no problem. No problem. Flew very well. So I wish I could remember the name of that. It was in Tom's bibliography of old time stunt planes, and somewhere I've got the set of plans for it, but I can't remember the name of it.
Well, the
But
Bob Daly airplanes out of Detroit, the I-beams, he was using flaps and stabilators in the old time era. So
was he?
yeah, the nuts and bolts that were published in the Stunt News, I think it was 04 or
Yeah.
something like that. And give me a minute, I'll think of the guy who published it. But at any rate, yeah, those were I-beam wing flap airplanes with full flying stabilators in 1950. All right.
Wow. Well, when did the Nobler come
Well,
out?
this one,
Well, the Nobler came out. I think the original Nobler. I want to say it
51.
was 50 or 51.
Okay.
51.
Okay.
And the
And
green
the
box
original
Nobler came out in
Smoothie.
57.
The original Smoothie was an old time era. Tom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was the Nobler was before the Smoothie, but Bob Palmer had a plane before the Smoothie then with flaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Smoothie just barely made it as an old timer.
Mm-hmm. Well, the stories were that Bob Palmer and George Rodriguez flew together too, and they were working
did.
on Go Devils and Chiefs and things like that, and eventually went into Noblers and Smoothies. So, where is it?
Well, there's some that say that the Chief was a big influence for George Aldrich for the Nobler.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
It's hard to believe both the Smoothie and the Nobler became an RC airplane also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they flew well as an RC airplane.
Oh yeah. A good flying airplane's a good flying airplane if you got everything right. Tom's Smoothie there, it's got the upright engine in it, so I would say would be old time legal.
Yeah.
I got beaten
Would you
by
agree,
one of those
Denny?
at Brodax last year.
What's that?
Did you?
By a smoothie?
A Smoothie in old time. Yeah. Phil Spillman beat me in old time with a Smoothie, and I was in my Noble.
Ah.
It's a good flying airplane. It's a good flying airplane. No doubt about it.
You know what? When I did the plans for the Brodak Smoothie, I got a chance to have a lot of correspondence with Bob Palmer, and he actually supplied me with his original drawings that were drawn on butcher paper. And
oh wow,
he told me when he gave me the plans, he says this is the way I wanted it published. This was the one I wanted published. This is the one I wanted kitted. But he was on either the world tour or the tour to England, one of the two at the time. And what was the guy's name that had Heko, HECO.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Gil Henry.
He was, yeah, Bob was working for him part time. And anyway, they took his original prototype that he built, that he didn't particularly care for, with the skinny wing and the weird airfoil, and that's the one they put it into production and published it while he was on that tour. And he came home and he was upset and he wanted to change it, and they says, "No, we're not going to change it. We've already got it out." So Bob told me that he built two of them. He had one, he had his original one, and he built another one with the way he wanted it to be, and he painted them exactly alike. And he told me he'd go to a contest there at the Santa Anita racetrack, and he would have them both in the trunk of his car. And if it was windy, he'd take out the skinny wing one, and if it was nice, he'd take out the one that the thicker wing version, the one that like the Brodak version, and he would fly that one. Very few people ever caught on the fact that he had the two models, apparently. But that's what he told me.
Wow.
And the
awesome.
the one that Brodak is selling is the one that is the one that Bob Palmer had wanted to be kitted in the first place.
Yeah, and the one that Phil
The thicker
Spillman flies, he actually flies a plans built version, the magazine plan version, which
Okay.
is the only one
That-
I've ever
Okay.
seen. All right, so it's not from the original, Vico kit, and it's not the Brodak version.
Okay.
So there's at least three main versions
Wow.
of the air. Well, plus there's the inverted engine wouldn't have been old time era. So there's but counting that would be 4 different smoothies out there. So
Oh, he did have a
Wasn't
smoothie
one of
with
them-
the- I didn't know that.
Wasn't
Yeah.
one of them Trailways or something like that?
I
One
don't
what?
think they've ever published it. That'd be trail something magazine.
Air Trails.
yeah,
Air Trails. That's
Air
it.
Trails? Air Trails.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if Air Trails ever published it.
Somebody did.
I don't know.
I got. Well, let me dig it up here a second. I'll be right back. I got a. By the way, there's a gentleman named Thomas Wilkes. He's on Stunthangar. If you guys are interested in old plans and stuff, he sells CDs with with the old magazine articles in them and stuff. And they're just basically copied JPEG things, and they're fun to just look at stuff.
I actually have used them to do traceovers in CAD
Mhm.
to come up with a CAD drawing full size.
All right. Hey, just for a little
awesome.
break while Dennis is looking this up, let me share a video with you guys real quick, just to break up the monotony. You ready?
All right.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
She's going.
All right.
Yeah.
Now I'm flying this plane and I've got a camera in my other hand
Oh,
while I'm flying it.
Wow.
I got a phone in one hand and a handle in the other.
terrific.
That's what it looks like
Cool.
from inside the circle.
How old were you?
This was last year at the Nats.
Okay.
Is that a 049 or a 15 or what?
It's a pulse jet, Steve.
Oh, it's a pulse. That doesn't sound like a pulse set. It sounds like a
Yeah,
engine running.
I caught
It
it. I
sounds like
said,
one to
"Fuck
me."
it,"
Volume
before
up.
my picture even came on.
Yeah, I tell you, but I
said,
want to
"Fuck
do it
that,"
again
before
here.
the picture even came up.
Watch the start. Watch the start. Wait. One hit and it goes. Watch this.
That's awesome.
One hit.
One pump start.
One pump start. And Dennis, that's Ron Colombo as my pump man, and that is the Breeze as my buzz box and release guy. That's Ed
All
Breeze
right.
and Ron Colombo sending that
That's
up.
yeah, that's terrific. That's true. How in the world did you talk them
That's-
into
How do you-
doing it?
How do you cut streamers with that thing?
I don't.
You burn them, baby.
Burn 'em. I didn't have
Burn them.
I didn't have to do much talking. I mean, Ronnie and Breeze, they knew my dad when my dad flew pulse jets down at Rouge back in the day. You know, I think you've heard me talk about my father before. He was never a control line competitor or anything. He flew ringmasters and, you know, stuff like that, but he had jets and he flew jets for fun, not in competition. But we shared the circle down there. We always flew down there. So Ronnie and the Breeze knew me when I was Sam's age, when I was, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and they knew my dad. So when I got into competitions and then ran into them again flying combat and going to contests in Detroit, they remembered. And those guys, they're beer drinking, white collar or blue collar guys, man, shop guys, and they're typical just Detroit guys. So they're like,
Absolutely.
hell yeah, we'll help you fly a pulse jet, man. We'll start it, we'll launch it, whatever. And the Breeze actually flew that one last year. Breezy got on the handle and flew it. Ronnie didn't get a chance to, but he will.
Yeah.
He will.
What car company did they work for?
Ford Motor Company, both of them. Ronnie's retired. I think
That's
Breeze
awesome.
might still work for Ford. Ronnie had a few too many cocktails by that time to fly it, so he said, "I don't want to wreck your plane, man. I don't want to wreck it. So I'll wait. I'll wait till I'm a little more sober." And Breeze was like, "Oh yeah, I'll fly it. What do I got to do? What do I got to do?" And I'm like, I told him what to do, and he went out and flew it. And he's like, "Yeah, it's like flying a fast combat plane and not maneuvering. You're just flying a fast combat plane."
Well, how fast is that anyway?
That one's under 120. It's not a world beater, man.
Yeah, so that's literally like a fast combat plane.
It's like
then.
flying a Nelson. It's like flying a Nelson,
yeah.
But you can't plant your feet and do figure eights with it. You got to keep going. But it only runs for a minute and 10. Minute 10. So it's not that hard.
Yeah.
John, what were you going to ask?
Take off, hold on tight.
No, I was going to make a smart remark, and I said not to.
Come on, I can't be the only one that does it, John.
Go ahead.
I can't remember. I can't remember what it was now. What the heck?
Lord. Oh my Lord.
Well, the diversion's done, and I want to put this out. Any of you that ever
John, you're killing us.
Any of you that ever want to fly one, you're welcome to at the Nats or Brodax. Any of you can get a turn on the handle anytime. But yeah, okay, here's Dennis's article.
That's awesome.
Let's turn it back to Dennis.
I was just going to say, Mike, you made the call. See that? Air Trails?
Air Trails, yeah. And how do I know?
Oh, yeah.
I'm younger than all you guys, and I remember Air Trails magazine.
I don't remember why I brought this up. All right? That's how you remember it.
We were talking about smoothies, man.
Yeah. Is that what we were talking about?
Because you're the only one who's got any memory left.
Yeah, okay.
Wow, look at that.
Look at that wing. Look at that airfoil, baby.
Okay, let me ask you this, Dennis. So when you guys got a plan like this in Air
Is there
Trails,
anybody here?
would you have to scale it up and then cut all the pieces yourself? How do you scale that up from a magazine back in?
You used to be able to buy the plan from Air Trails for something like a quarter. All right.
Full size plan.
Yeah, a full size plan.
They'd mail it to you rolled up or whatever.
It was folded up in an envelope, and I don't think it was them so much, but some of the others. You'd get a plan. It would have all of the designs that were published in that magazine in that month. So you might have a stunt plane, a pre-flight airplane, a rudder-only RC job, or all on the same plan. It would be on both sides of a couple of sheets and stuff. And you had to make sure that you kept building the right airplane, or else you'd end up with a strange-looking thing. But
what they use for a motor mount?
Now you just get John Miller to draw
I see the rails now. Okay, landing gear right in between the rails.
Mm.
Now there's a scale on there, so could you take that like the Kinko?
You could do, you could do like Mike said, you could do that. I think you probably could do that. You could scale it off of that, whatever.
A lot of people did.
I can't even imagine just cutting all those parts, man. How do you lay them out, man? So I've heard different versions of people would cut out the paper and then glue it to a rib, and trace around it, or what's the method of Okay, whatever year this was, let's just say it's 1955, and you got this plan. How do you build that airplane?
Probably put a piece of carbon paper underneath the plan, and and a thing, and then trace over the plan through the carbon paper. Make yourself a little paper template, and then, like you say, stack up however many ribs. All the ribs were the same out to here, and then all these ribs were different.
So
All right. So
what
you
it looks
made
like
what,
they
about
had
10 of these, and then 2 of each of those.
Or you can use the pinprick method where you take a pin and prick around.
Okay, now I've done that on some of the Jetco models. That's what they tell you to do with the plans is pinprick it. Okay, I know
Or
that.
you can cut out the
There
rib
for
with the
1,000
scissors,
years.
paper rib with the scissors, and trace around it. Those are
You could sacrifice the plans. That's exactly right.
Sacrifice the plans. So, because
No, you know what I'll tell you. What I do is use tracing paper and draw it, just draw it around, and then put once you've got a tracing of it, what I do is I glue the tracing paper to Bristol, and then the Bristol board out, and then you've got a rib template.
Yeah.
The ribs are the tough stuff. Everything else can just be measured.
Anybody get that?
I did, Len.
Yep.
Yeah. The others, the ribs are hard, but all the bulkheads and stuff like that, you just measure them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get the height, you do that, you measure up, you get your arc. That's how I do. Like the tail with all the rounded stuff, I just pretend it's square. And then round it.
That's right.
Go back one picture. I just noticed something on the plan. The top view, it shows the offset of the rudder at 10 to 12 degrees.
Yeah. That was what they did those days.
That's
They
why
didn't know
what you were showing off last week was probably pretty close to 10 to 12 degrees. Right? Doesn't that look like about what you had?
Yeah, it does.
So,
I think his was worse than that.
but yeah, that was
But you
the way they used to show these things. So
I just don't understand
That's
how
why
the
they
adjustable lead outs work.
In the fat brown bottle.
They didn't have adjustable lead out.
They didn't have them.
They're not even. They're
Just
not
glued the tubes
even.
in.
Not only are
You
they not
notice-
adjustable, but oh
The
well.
tube.
Yeah, they're not even
lead out
on the
feed-
plan.
Hmm.
The
It had
other
a
thing,
3-inch bell crank, and the lead outs were 3 inches apart.
Wow. Yeah.
They came out straight. So when you pulled, your
Yeah,
rear
you
one
can tell blood holes in the wing.
rear one would be your downline when that particular thing would. And when we discovered that they worked better with the downline up front, we turned the bell cranks around.
the other thing I noticed when I
Love
had
those
the
metal
wing,
bell
I had to
cranks.
rebuild the wing, so I had it all open and recovered it. But there are no shear webs in this wing.
Well, that's right.
Nope. They didn't know the concept.
The best analogy I could
So
say
when do
is,
we build one?
everybody knew how to build free flight models. They didn't even have plank leading edges in, but they had lots of spars and stuff like that. And then they started building symmetrical airfoils. They tried keeping the same kind of arrangements with spars. Somewhere along the line, they discovered planking the leading edge, but they had not yet discovered that if you close off the back, you take those two little spars that are there. If you just close those up with a shear web, all of a sudden you've got a brutally strong wing that won't work, that won't warp or anything like that. So, but they hadn't made that leap yet. So
I could see me building one of these.
Are we? Do we
You
still have?
notice that, with the exception of the tip, that is a Hershey bar wing.
Yeah,
or a
It's a
rectangular
constant
wing.
chord wing
Yes,
out
it
to
is.
here with a tapered flap, very short, small flap, and then the elliptical wingtip. So they got the by the end of the last rib, that's a pretty thin wing. And then of course the high point is way back, kind of a laminar flow airfoils were all the rage, I
Very.
guess, and everybody wanted a
You
laminar
know where
flow
that came
airfoil.
from? You know where that airfoil came from?
I've heard it came from
Palmer was
Lockheed. Yeah.
Yep, Palmer was working for Lockheed.
Yep.
Go ahead and tell it.
I was just going to say I'd heard it was the vertical tail of a C-130, which was a brand new airplane then, if you can imagine that.
I thought it was a horizontal stabilizer, but that's okay. You know, but it was off the tail section with C-130.
Mm-hmm.
It was one that could take turbulence. He wanted an airplane that would fly smooth in windy weather.
Mm-hmm.
So it would, but it didn't fly well enough as standard NACA 4-digit airfoil did.
Mm-hmm. I think been really surprised. Phil's had his out several years at Brodak and watched it flying. I think it flies really nice. I don't know that it would perform as well as the thicker wing or anything like that, but you look at that airfoil and you think, no way. But you fly or watch his airplane fly, and it looks like it flies pretty well. I mean, what do you think, Glenn?
No, I think it would fly okay. I don't care for the. Go ahead, Rusty. I thought Rusty was trying to say something.
No, go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, okay. I don't care for the metal finger slicing landing gear fairings.
Well,
they look like
what stands out to me is fuel tank, tin can stock with just measurements.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it doesn't tell you how to build one. It's just tin can stock. Figure it out.
Yeah.
If you're building one of these, if you're building one of these, you already knew how to build the tank.
Okay.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, you knew what to do. You just fold up the metal and solder it together.
That's it. Doesn't everybody do that?
Denny, that airfoil. There's another airplane that has a similar airfoil that flies much better than it should, and that's Mathis's Excalibur.
Yeah.
But it uses turbulator spars. It's not quite as the high point isn't quite as far back, but it's not quite as well. It is pretty pointy, but the turbulator spars seem to work really well. That airplane is a sleeping bear. It flies extremely well at Excalibur.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you got well, you all know what an Excalibur looks like, don't you? You have pull one up?
Somewhat, yeah.
So do all the modern stunt ships have a longer inboard wing, or is it just back in this day?
No.
No. There's the Excalibur. Notice that airfoil?
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, but he had a longer inboard wing was a really popular feature.
As well. Yeah, the airfoil's
and
way
over the
back.
years, it's been kind of going back and forth. My preference, I build everything with an equal span wing, unless I'm trying to copy something like this. This one's got an offset wing, and I've got a kit, so I'll probably build it that way. So.
Yeah.
The smoothie.
You see that pointy? See that big point on the?
I do the same thing, Dennis. Most of mine are equal span.
Yep. Yeah.
See that point on the airfoil there? If you ever build this airplane, don't point it like that. Blunt that off a little bit. You point it like that, it'll stall too easily.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have any any plywood doublers in it. It has the balsa doublers on both sides, and I buried my tank down. When I did mine, I buried it down to the inside of the inboard doubler, so the
Yeah.
tank sat down there quite nicely, and made sure that my mountings were showing so that it qualified as a profile. Nice flying airplane. That thing was just a beauty to fly.
You know, this thing, if you were to use one of the narrow wedge
Cool.
tanks, you could virtually internalize the fuel tank in that, because those tanks are only about,
Pretty much,
I
yeah,
think,
you
a
could.
1 5/8 wide or something like that. That's an inch and a
Yeah.
half stack. So if you
Yeah,
do
you'd
like
barely
John
be,
said, if you put
yeah, you'd
a
almost be burying it.
yeah, you could just about completely bury the tank,
That's
and
the
then
way
you
That's
that's the
pretty
way
cool.
the trophy trainer is from Walt Umblin.
yeah, okay,
I've got two kits of the trophy trainer, and they're recessed. It's got a big fat nose on it, but the tanks are recessed way into the profile, so
Mhm.
they don't stick out so far.
John, what were you saying about tank
That
mounting to qualify for old time, or what was
Well,
that?
as a profile, you have to your motor mount, the lugs on your engine have to be exposed. And so what I did is I just outlined them and kept it so that they were exposed. So you look in there, they were there. They weren't covered up with anything. That's
But you
all.
also did something like that with the fuel tank, then?
Well, yeah, the fuel tank though, I went through the fuselage to the inside of the inboard doubler, so that moved it in an inch. So a
Yeah,
2 inch, when there's only 1 inch of a 2 inch tank, there's only 1 inch showing. And then I painted that the same color as the fuselage, which happened to be a rocket blue, because I did the old military style. It had the yellow wings with the red stripe, and back here on the tail,
hmm
I had let's see, I had a blue stripe that was the one that's angled forward, and then red, white, red, white, red, white, red, white, the old primary Army primary colors. It was an attractive looking airplane. You see here how he's only got it. If you look at this at the section there, A above the engine, you'll see he's
hmm
got it shown in there going in to the outboard side of the fuselage right here,
yeah,
right there. Well, I just went on in the rest of the way to
yeah.
the inboard side.
Well, again, using some
Okay.
modern thinking on that stuff, I don't know why you wouldn't take the narrow tank and put it in from the inside up against the outside wall, and have the tank accessible from the inside of the inboard side of the fuselage.
You could play games with it. You certainly could.
You
Wasn't
could
that a
But
neat
certainly,
I'm here to tell you,
gee, Mike showed us a really neat chicken hopper last time. You could probably internalize the tank completely with just a chicken hopper point, peeking out.
well, you could get awful close to that, couldn't you?
Yeah,
And the thing is, this airplane, I always call it a triple threat, because you could fly it in classic, you could fly it in profile, and you could fly it in Pampa classes if you wanted to.
yeah, and
Uh,
it would hold its own in a Pampa class. So
yeah,
Only thing is,
it's
though, how
Excalibur?
do you raise and lower the tank?
you don't. You use Uniflow on it, and you set it so you can rotate your Uniflow. I
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And silence.
That's a
every
cool looking little
back off a
airplane.
minute. Back off a
Silence.
minute.
Everyone's like,
I
how
did
do you rotate your
I-
Uniflow, John?
back off a minute. Yeah, I'm thinking of totally off in left field.
Yeah.
What I did is I made my cutout large enough, and I made shims that could go above or below. One above, one below would center the tank, two
Yeah,
below
the
would
shimmer.
raise the tank an eighth of an inch, and they were all painted so that
Exactly.
when they're in
Okay.
place, they didn't. So that's how I adjusted it.
I was
I'm
gonna say
thinking,
that'd be a bitch to go to the damn field with a soldering iron so you can rotate your uniflow.
yeah. No, see, I do that with my plastic RC tanks that I
Yeah.
use.
Yeah, well, I do that with the plunk tanks that I put on profiles, the plastic Dubrow and Sullivan tanks. You just twist the
Yeah.
Uniflow tube and
Anyway,
leave it right
there's a
down the
fun
middle.
project for you, and Walter Umlin makes a kit of it. I happen to have one.
Sure. Well, guys, I think I'm getting off. I'll see everybody Friday.
You beat me to it,
Okay,
Steve. I'm
Steve.
about to sign off too. So
This
have a good
this
weekend.
Not if we see you first,
is
Steve.
just exhausting me.
Not if we see you first, Steve.
Okay.
Have a good week.
See you, Steve.
Bye.
Yeah,
Take care.
Bye, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say bye
Take
to
it
all the
easy, Steve.
YouTubers and cut
Good night.
the stream too. So I think we've had about the same 12 guys in there all night long. It looks like,
No
and
questions
nobody's
tonight?
saying a lot.
No questions
say?
tonight? No questions tonight from YouTube, Rusty?
Nope. There was a comment way back while I was offline, and when I came back, I asked him because it was off topic by then. If it was Dennis B, and I asked him if he wanted me to shout it out, and he never answered. But he asked, he was saying something was the ballerina Bob Gillides saw at the 62 Nats. So I don't know. That
Bob
doesn't sound
Gialdini.
familiar.
Rob
Yeah.
Gialdini. Yeah.
Aldini,
Oh,
yeah.
it's misspelled, I guess, then. But the ballerina. So
Oh, yeah.
that's
I like that.
that's all that says. But no, nobody ever did anything but say hello. In fact, I can't even scroll the list up and down. There's that few comments. So it was quiet out there tonight. Once I got over my problems with it crashing the internet, I got a great picture and video. And I noticed lately y'all have been getting out of sync, but still not too bad. But anyway, y'all all have a great week. I'm gonna cut the tube feed, and y'all hang out until you feel like you don't want to hang out. And so fair winds, tight lines, and we'll see y'all later.
Okay.
Good night,
Take care,
Rusty.
Have a good one,
Thanks
Rusty.
for hosting and
Good
thanks
night.
for persevering.
Sure thing.
Take care.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
All righty.
Gee, Denny, after the comments tonight, I'm looking. I'm thinking I may have to extend the nose on the Vanguard. It's
Yeah, I don't know.
electric and it's got a short nose.
I'm still, I've talked with Bob about that before, and well, the one airplane I'm flying, I've got an 11-inch nose moment on it, and but I haven't been there for a while, and I'm just wondering if I need to try